Good morning, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? Today we make money. All right, so just one sec. Uh, all right, so let us look at the line. I don't think it's changed, but we'll see. It didn't change this morning. KC won 48.5, hasn't changed. Our bet, we've taken the dog. We've determined that the dog is playing the game, and we'll take, if it goes Philly favored, we'll bet on Kansas City. And we figure that it'll be over. Both teams are A teams, so they got really good offenses and they got really good defenses. And that's why they're in the Super Bowl. And they're both 18 defenses, means they give up 18 a game. And so it's an average because Philly played Washington, gave up 36 and gave up 23 to them in their last game. But then they got teams like Dallas and the Giants who don't have offenses. So it's a balance. They did hold Baltimore down to like 19 with a late score. They beat Pittsburgh. I think Pitt got 14. That was also an under. So we got Hurts against Mahomes. It's all Mahomes, obviously. Hurts hasn't won a big game. Mahomes, that's all he does is win big games. So you must look at that. You must look at are the guys chokers or are they not? And so as we look at chokers are like Jared Goff. They're like Fran Tarkington. They're like not really Dan Marino. I don't think he choked. He just didn't have a running game or a defense, so he was trying to do it all on his own. But there's Lamar. He's a choker. He's got the defense. He's got the running game, and they got killed by Buffalo. They did score at the end to make it somewhat competitive, but they were never really in that game. So that's how we want to bet. We want to bet on who can we trust. It's very much a trust issue. Who do you want to put your money on? So we do this in every area in life. Who do we want to? Do we want to work at this job? Do we want to date this girl? Do we want to go here for dinner or there for dinner? And it's all a fair trade. Hey, David, how are you today? You want to talk economics or football? Just comment what you want me to talk about. But right now, we're gonna obviously it's the Super Bowl. We're gonna talk Super Bowl. So, how do you arrive at your pick? Right. So we're here to make money. We're not here. This is not a show or a class just because, or, we're trying to do ratings or something. This is a class that we're going to make money at and how, and I'm going to teach you how, just like I teach you about gold and silver and economics and inflation and all the corruption that goes on. We're going to learn how to bet sports, poker, and invest today. So, growing up in the 60s, you had the Packers. I remember the Ice Bowl. I don't remember if I bet it. I was only 7. I do remember betting the Kansas City, Minnesota Super Bowl and then into the 70s. And I do remember betting the Steelers when they were laying 11 and a half and they won by 12 in the Rams Super Bowl. I learned about teasers in 77 and I bet Joe Montana against Earl Gamble in a Cotton Bowl. So as I've evolved, I've kind of looked at why did I lose? I always am very inquisitive why I lose a bet, pick a bag stock. Why am I even in the stock market? Why am I playing poker? Why did I lose? And if you do it like that, you really don't lose much because you don't fall in that trap again. So what I've learned in football, you would first you looked at the quarterback and the offense, and you really didn't pay attention to the defense. And then you realize the upsets happen when this really good defensive team shuts down a really good offensive team because you're looking at the quarterback and you don't see this killer defense. They've caused 3 interceptions and off we go. So that's led up to that's why I look at 18 defenses here, right? I look at the defense. And then I take it one step further. Even though Philadelphia is in 18 and KC's in 18, then I peel back and go, who did they play? Did they play a lot of high scoring offenses or low scoring offenses? There's teams like New England used to play. It was Miami sucked, the Jets sucked, and Buffalo sucked. So when they had a good defense and you looked at it, there were 6 games against nobody's. That's why I give the Lions a hard time because they didn't play anybody last year, and the teams they did play that were any good, they got killed. This year, pretty similar. Again, how strong are the team? And you got to really understand how strong are the teams they're playing. Teams are overrated and underrated, so you've got to be careful of that. David, you watching the big game? Yeah, I'll watch Super Bowl. I think it's on at 6:30. The pool closes by 4:30 on Sundays for some reason, which I never understood. But I'll be home before then. I think I've got a steak I'll cook. And I got a big salad. I've been making these real big salad bowls. So I used to get my different salad items, cauliflower, broccoli, celery, peppers, mushrooms, and put them in different containers. And I have this really big container, and I all of a sudden I said, this is ridiculous. And I cut them all up, wash them all up, and just throw them in the big container. I just take some handfuls, and there's my instead of a salad, I got all these veggies, which is very healthy. David, this is the number 1 and number 2 defenses in the league, but who have they played? Good question. That's my point on Philadelphia. When they did play Washington, Washington beat them 36-33, and then they just beat them 55-23. So Washington with Daniels puts up 23-33. This is why I like the over in the game, because even though Philly's got a good defense, as I pointed out, they get the Giants who can't score and Dallas who can't score, although they do better with Cooper Rush. And, they did play Baltimore and they beat them, and they did play Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. They held Joe Burrow to 17. So there was some teams that were decent. So I mean, here they played the AFC North and Baltimore and Pittsburgh, or the Central, whatever they are. But yeah, they did play some good teams. But it shows you how bad Lamar is against a good defense. All I know is they got 6 or 7 Georgia guys on it, which makes them a very good defense. Which was my point about drafting Georgia guys from a defense that gave up 7 points a game in a whole season in college and killed Alabama in the championship game, and wondering why people aren't drafting Georgia guys. There's a reason they held them to 7 points, right? So that's why we go through the schedule. We'll go through the schedule. Well, let's do that now. So let's break it down. Let's go to Philadelphia. We have no weather to worry about, and as far as I know, there's no injuries to worry about. Let's look at Philadelphia. Now, here's their results for the whole year. Green Bay 34-29. So Green Bay lights them up pretty good. Atlanta still using Kirk Cousins gets 22, and they actually beat them 22-21. New Orleans 15-12. They win. Tampa puts up 33 on them. So again, the Baker puts up 33. Love puts up 29. Cleveland, they have no quarterback, 20-16. The Giants 28-3, nothing. Joe Burrow 37-17. Jacksonville, surprisingly, 28-23. Dallas 34-6. Washington 26-18 the first game. The Rams 37-20. Baltimore 24-19 with a late touchdown to make it close. Carolina 22-16. Pittsburgh 27-13. Then Washington puts up 36 on them. They beat Dallas again, doesn't score 41-7. And again, the Giants. So 4 of their games, they played the Giants and Dallas, and they gave up 13-7, 3, and 6. So against the 2 crap teams, they give up, that's where the 18 becomes question mark. Then they play better teams with good quarterbacks. So Green Bay 29, Tampa Bay 33, Joe Burrow 17, Jacksonville they gave up 23. Daniels the first time 18, Stafford 20. But I wonder if he had Pukanuka back by then. It's mid-November. Lamar 19, that's about what you expect. 36 then by Daniels the second time. Then in the playoffs, 10 to Green Bay, but then 22 to Stafford and 23. So I agree with you. They're probably not an 18, but you can't just throw out the Giant game and the Dallas games, even though they are pros, even though not really. Daniel Jones sucked. We know Dak Prescott sucks, and then we know Cooper Rush is pretty good. But we see that. But I think that was the game, the Dallas game. They lost to Washington, so they had to win the game to clinch the division. They win 41-7. All right. So, yeah, it's a good chance. Very good chance. KC definitely gets into the 20s, right? Even beating the Rams 28-22 and last week with 23. But Washington puts up 36, Baltimore 19, the Rams 20. So it's not like they're shutting teams out. Joe Burrow 17. So minimum, you're looking at 24 to 30 points for KC. So let's look at KC. Now, KC did play good defensive teams because they had to play San Diego and Denver twice, although the last Denver game was meaningless. So they beat Baltimore 27-20, putting up 27 on Baltimore is good. They beat Joe Burrow 26-25 on a very bad interference call. Joe Burrow lights them up for 25. They beat San Diego 17-10. So against a really good defense, they get 17. They beat the Niners 28-18. They beat Oakland. Oakland's not good. Tampa, they beat 30-24 in overtime. That's what I expect in this game. Then they beat Denver 16-14. Denver had the second best defense. So it was San Diego, Philly, and Denver all at 18 defenses. And then I think Kansas City's also an 18. So you had 4 good teams with 18 defenses, San Diego and Denver. So they had to play 2 of them. And that's why they're 23, 24 points a game and not the other. Buffalo, they lose 30-21. Then they give up 27 to Carolina somehow. Then they beat San Diego 19-17. And they beat Houston 27-19. Still, they scored 27 on a good Houston defense. Then they beat Pitt 29-10 on a good Pitt defense. I think that clinched the number 1 seed. Then they don't try against Denver. Then in the playoffs, they beat Houston 23-14. And then Buffalo 32-29. So I'm expecting a Buffalo game. I'm expecting at least 24 for Kansas City and around 24 for Philadelphia. So I'm expecting at least a 40, like I said, up, let's say 46, 47 to 55 in this game. Because if Mahomes needs to score, he's going to score. The thing with Mahomes is if he gets a 10-point lead, he just runs the clock out. And when Philly tries it, then usually Barkley runs for a touchdown, right? So this is what we have to see. So they're scoring points. Forget the Denver game; they didn't even play. But 27 on Houston, good defense. 29 on Pitt, good defense. 23 on Houston, good defense again, and 32 on Buffalo, a good defense. So we look at that and we kind of break it down. Who did they play? We see Philly against the Giants in Dallas, really bringing it down to an 18. If they didn't play those 4 games, they probably would be a 22-23. They're still a good defense, but you can see they did play Baltimore. They did play Cincinnati and Russell Wilson. So you see Philly did play some good teams, the NFC North. I think it's, and then I think the Buffalo, I'm getting confused between, I think the Baltimore is north, and then the Buffalo would be the, whatever it is, the East Coast. So that's how you look at it. So you break it down. You're not going to stop Mahomes. He's a winner. He's proven it. He's won, 3 Super Bowls, 2 in a row. He's been in the other Super Bowls, so he's been there. It's not a big deal. Philadelphia was just there 2 years ago. And if we look at the head-to-head, because we can't remember the score of that game, it was 21-17. What the hell? No, it was 30. Oh, they played November 20th in 23. All right, so in the Super Bowl, KC wins 38-35. Then they played at KC in 23, so that's 2 years ago. They didn't play in 24. So the Super Bowl was 38-35. A close game that I don't recall if it's overtime or not, but it's high scoring. And I think you're going to see that here. So it's not like Philly hasn't played in a big game. So to assume the bet, I know there's good defenses. And you've got superstar in Mahomes, and you got a superstar in Barkley. So they cancel, right? Little different position, obviously, but they cancel. Okay. Then you have Kelsey and their other tight end, but then you have DeAndre Hopkins and their receivers who you can't even watch them because you're watching Kelsey, which opens up the receivers. And then you got the runner. You between Hunt and Pacheco, you've got balance. And by the way, Mahomes sneaks out for a 5-yard gain every once in a while. So you get him 3rd and 6, and he'll kind of go back to pass. Now he's trying to pass. If Kelsey's open, he hits him. If the back's open, he hits him. But if they're not open, he does dance around and he'll get his 6 yards, get his first downs. He's very adept at doing that. I do hope they change the rule that if the quarterback's running down the sideline and then as the guy's about to hit him, steps out of bounds, no call. That's bullshit. Or if he's just running and then he slides. He slides like that, you can nail him. The slide's supposed to be for protection, but it's not supposed to be where the quarterback dicks around and waits till the guy's 2 inches away and then slides and says, personal foul, they hit me. You got to get down. You've got to slide. If you're dicking around, that shouldn't be a penalty. I hate that penalty. I hate the whole thing. Let's tackle football. Let's tackle them, boys. And if the guy wants to slide, we're still going to tackle him. And the out of bounds, if he's out of bounds and you hit him is one thing, but if he's running the sideline and then steps out, don't give him the cheap calls. So with that said, that's what you have. And, so how do you pick the game? Will KC be able to move on Philly? That's your question. Will Philly be able to move on KC? That's your other question. And we can see that they both should be able to move on them. And Mahomes, they don't blow out teams very often. Not they're not going to blow out Philly. They didn't blow out Frisco. They control the game with Mahomes, getting first downs. He reads the defense. Very good. If they blitz him, he dumps it off to Kelsey. If they don't blitz him, he can run with Hunt or Pacheco, or if he has to, which he doesn't like, he can run too. And Jalen Hurts is a little bit, go ahead and stop Barkley. So can KC then turn the table, play defense, and stop Barkley? They can key on Barkley, but then Hurts has a couple of receivers and a tight end, and he likes to run. That's why he doesn't win, because he runs. He's not a quarterback. And this is the problem. If Mahomes very rarely runs, Joe Burrow very rarely runs, they will move around in the pocket. Burrow wants to hit Chase. That's what he wants, as Mahomes likes to hit Kelsey. But when you go to Hurts, who's he really going for? Does he really want to go to who? A.J. Brown? Not Devontae Smith. Goddard, tight ends, okay. Barkley can't catch. So you're pretty much handing the ball to Barkley, and can he read 9 guys in the box to get out of the play and call a screen or a slant or a blitz play? And I don't think Hurts is capable of that. We'll see. Maybe he's learning. So when he goes back to pass, if you pressure him and KC blitzes the hell out of him, KC's going to blitz a lot today for 2 reasons. One, it's a run blitz to stop Barkley, and 2, Hurts can't read it and can't throw it very well. So KC, it's both a run blitz and to keep Hurts in the pocket. However, if Philly blitzes Mahomes, he'll read it. He'll go, oh, they're going to blitz me, and go. It's amazing how half these quarterbacks can't read a blitz. And they don't know what to do with when they are blitzed. It's just amazing. That's why they're chokes, because they can't. Darnell never saw a blitz before, apparently. You got Kirk Cousins, never saw a blitz before. But then you get Penix and Daniels, and all of a sudden they know what to do with the blitz. So just pretty amazing. So in this game, they're not holding either team under 20 points. This will not be a 10-7 Super Bowl. The only way it would be is if they keep going for 4th down at the other team's 5-yard line after driving 90 yards and coming up empty, which I don't see happening. Or a lot of turnovers at the other team's goal line. So if you turn an under is if I drive the ball down the field and I turn it over at the 5, or I turn it over at the 10, or throw an interception in the end zone, I've just wasted all the clock and I didn't get any points. That's how you get an under. If you get the turnover, the pick sixes, those go to over. If I drive down and I at least score or kick field goals, that's pretty much going to get an under. We don't need much. We need 42. We need 24-22. Guess it's a 46. We don't even need that. We need 24 20s, 44. That's a W. We need 42.5. So that's all we need. 23-20, which is a very possible score. But I think if Mahomes needs to score at the end, he will. So that's going to get you 7 at the end, or a field goal, whatever. And the same thing with Philly. They're going to run Barkley. And Barkley's key, because he'll get you points, because you need to run in the red zone. So Barkley will run in the red zone. And that's the point of it. So if you give him the ball at the 5, he's going to score touchdowns. Give him maybe 2 plays, and he'll score. They're not going to stop him. KC will blitz Barkley. That's their only chance. Barkley should do some damage. Should get 100 yards. KC's defense is more apt to pass defense, putting pressure on the quarterback. They didn't really face San Diego and Denver aren't really strong running teams. I'd say Baltimore. In Baltimore, that was a 55 game. I think it was 29-27 or something, where Lamar threw the pass too far to win the game. He chokes. Just amazing. So that's what you have. So KC will score with Mahomes. That's the beauty of Mahomes. He will get you touchdowns. He's seen everything. He knows how to play. He knows how to react. So he's going to score, and he'll probably win the game, even if you're down. If you get down 10, he'll win the game. If he's up, he'll take the air out of the ball and run it and he'll run for a first down. He hits Kelsey like he did against Buffalo. He just ran the clock out. So that's the difference. But I think Philly's like Buffalo. I think they'll be able to score upper 20s. So I think you're looking at 30-27 Kansas City because we're betting Mahomes. If they went dog, we would lock Kansas City and the over. But at this point, we're not locking Philly, but it could be. Make a good bet on it, and you should win it. So when you're breaking out, the key to breaking out, analyzing football is to understand the teams. And as you're saying, David, you've got to see who they played. That was my bitch about Michigan last year, not this year, is they didn't play anybody, and they were in the playoffs. They're undefeated. They hadn't played anybody, and even the Ohio State game, Ohio State wasn't that good last year. So they hadn't played anybody. You know, the Big Ten was terrible. Their pre-conference was, Bowling Green and, some real shit teams. And so Michigan they didn't belong in the playoff because their 10 wins, none of them are any good. Okay, they beat Ohio State, but they beat Ohio State this year with a quarterback that couldn't play high school ball anywhere. So you just don't understand Ohio State doing that and then going and winning the champ by lighting up Oregon and Notre Dame. You're like, you couldn't do that against Michigan? So then it really leads to, was it fixed or not? How could they lose to Michigan 13-10? Was the game fixed? I bet the game under, so I was happy. But seriously, how could they lose to Michigan and then kill Oregon and kill Notre Dame? How can that happen? It can happen in reality. It can only happen in the gambling world where nothing is real. It's all planned. It's all WWE. Ric Flair getting Michigan. He got Ohio State in a figure four, and that was it. They rang the bell early, like the Montreal screw job. That's what happened to Michigan, Ohio State. You can't explain it. There's no way that this Ohio State team that beat Notre Dame and Oregon could possibly lose to Michigan unless they laid down and lost on purpose, which obviously is what happened. So anyway, that's what you do look at, and David's right. You do look at who they played. That's why it was hard to do some teams this year, like the Big Ten, Indiana. Well, who did they play? They didn't play anybody. Then they beat Michigan, but apparently that didn't mean anything. I don't know why. Michigan played a good schedule and lost to Washington, and they lost to some pretty good teams. And then they beat Ohio State. But, I mean, they had a much better – they got killed by Oregon. So you just don't understand Indiana. So no credit to beat Michigan, which Ohio State couldn't do. And then you have – they didn't play Penn State. And then the last week they play Ohio State in what was a very close game, but because of a punt return and the punter dropping the ball, they scored 2 touchdowns. So they looks like they beat them, but they didn't. So that was really the case there. Indiana looked very strong, but didn't play anybody like Michigan and Ohio State. So this is where you don't know the team because you do the analysis. You go, I don't know. They beat a bunch of crap teams, and that's usually what happens with the AFC East with Buffalo. They get Miami sucks, the Jets suck, and New England sucks. So what you don't learn anything about them. And that's what happens a lot. So this year, KC beat San Diego and Denver, who are very good teams. And then you look at Oakland now, they got Coach Pete, and then they just added Chip Kelly from Ohio State, their OC. Coach Pete has a good defense. Max Crosby will play. We'll see who his quarterback is, but he'll get a quarterback. That's what these coaches do. Look at Sean Payton. He has Russell Wilson. He doesn't want to listen to him, so he cuts him, and he gets Bo Nixon. Vince Lombardi used to do that. Either you were a Vince Lombardi guy or you weren't. And if you weren't, you're goodbye. And he kept fishing for Vince Lombardi guys, which is eventually what he got. Killer defense, 6'7" Hall of Famers. So he turns them into Hall of Famers. And then he went with Bart Starr, who wasn't really that good of a quarterback. He was smart. So he wouldn't turn the ball over. So maybe it's equal to who is that equal to? Maybe a Russell Wilson, who Bart Starr. He's not a Burrow and he's not a Mahomes, and he's he'd be better than Lamar or Hurts. He wasn't a runner, but they ran that sweep, and that was their play, and that's how they won. And a killer defense. So he got his players, and that's what Coach Pete will do. He will get his players. He will bring in Seattle. They'll probably pull out Richard Sherman and have him get back out there. But he's very good at spotting. He spotted Richard Sherman. He spotted Bobby Wagner. You never heard of these guys. Richard Sherman was a wide receiver at Stanford, and he drafts him, and he's one of the best cornerbacks that ever played. But he could read the patterns, and he could read the ball, and he was a good receiver. So he took a guy like that. He was smart enough. So they get their players. That's why these coaches win. They know how to win. They know what type of players they have. And this is where I look at some teams and they don't have really good players. Philly is living with Hurts, and he should never be there. He should not be their quarterback. He's not very good. How can you say that? Because he doesn't throw the ball well. He runs a lot, so he's a good running back. He might be a good athlete, but he's not a good quarterback. Same with Lamar. I was listening to Emmitt Smith on one of these radio shows, and he says that's what they like about Lamar. He's an extension of the running game. And I go, exactly. He's a running back, but you need balance. You need a quarterback who can throw like a Joe Burrow, like a Mahomes. Mahomes can run, but his main emphasis is throwing the ball. That's the point, and he's a winner. He might throw an interception, but when the game's on the line and you need a touchdown, like you did against Buffalo, like you did against the Niners last year, like he does in all the big games, you need something. He wins the game for you. Lamar had a chance to tie the game. I think it was 29-22 in the first week, and he throws the ball too far, and the guy is not cognizant of keeping his toes in bounds. So again, a bad draft pick by Baltimore, having a guy that doesn't understand to keep his toes in bounds, which he could have easily have done, and a quarterback that overthrows. That's not accurate. That when you need a touchdown, he doesn't give you one. And so you have major problems at Baltimore where the coach can't recognize talent, and he keeps losing with Lamar, and you're just shaking your head going, well, we'll bring in Derrick Henry. Well, you didn't get rid of the problem, which is Lamar. You added a good running back, which helps, but you still lost to Buffalo, even with Henry. They took Henry out of the game. So Lamar, you beat us, and Lamar can't. Lamar fumbled, threw a few interceptions. You can't do that in big games. Why are you doing that? And this is the problem. So you keep losing with Lamar. We don't bet Lamar. So we're looking for players we can bet. We're looking for Joe Montana, Lawrence Taylor, the whole fucking Steeler team of the 70s. So you can win with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, and you can, so there are defensive teams you can win with. San Diego, pretty good defensive team, but they got Harbaugh, unfortunately. He's not a very good coach. You've got Denver, who doesn't have that great defense yet. They need that strong defensive guy. That's why I say when I'm talking NFL draft that they should be drafting. There's two excellent defensive ends at Ole Miss who were incredible against Georgia. And then there's two at Tennessee. And those are your Lawrence Taylor types. That's we want to bet on. So we'll be interested to see what teams now, provided they're all going in the draft. I don't know. Sometimes these guys are juniors and they, but Let's see if they go in the draft. That's who I would take if I'm drafting. If it's my team, my first pick's one of these studs from Ole Miss or Tennessee, and then you're not doing shit. And then I go after a star linebacker and some star secondary guys. I build my defense first because, as it's proven, anybody can lead you at quarterback. You don't need Mahomes to win. You need the killer defense. And Tom Brady never won when he did not have a very good defense. So there was years he didn't get into the Super Bowl because they lost to Pittsburgh, they lost to Baltimore, they lost to Peyton Manning, amazingly enough. And that's why they lost. That's why Peyton Manning never won. He never had a defense. So quarterback Dan Marino, Dan Fouts. Dan Fouts had a pretty good defense, but they never had defenses, and they scored too quickly, and they never rested the defense. So Marino and Fouts' problem is they never really had running. Well, they had Chuck Muncie at San Diego, but you've got to rest your defense. Your defense wins you the games, right? So if KC didn't have a good defense, I would not be betting. Well, we're still betting that we're betting Philly, but we're betting Philly because of their defense in Barkley and because they're the underdog. If Philly was favored, we'd be betting KC because we get Mahomes and that defense. So you're always looking for a strong dog with a strong defense and an adequate quarterback because it's very rare you're going to get both. But the defense is critical. And look at Georgia. How did they win for the last 6-7 years? It was a killer defense. Stenson Benson was okay at quarterback. I don't mind him. I don't know why he's not playing more at the Rams, although Stafford's scared, so that's why he's playing. LSU had a great defense, and then they had Joe Burrow. Iowa State and Iowa and Utah have great defenses. Their players are not being drafted because of bad GMs. Why do you think they have a good defense? Why do you think Iowa State beats Oklahoma and Texas and Kansas State? Because they have a good defense. That's why Kansas State wins. They have a great defense. So you got to understand, you must have a great defense, and that's who you want to bet on. More so, like Iowa State never had a really great quarterback. Brock Purdy's not a great quarterback, but they always had a great defense. And you bet Ohio State against Oklahoma getting 15 points, and they'd win the game. So you make money finding the defense, and it's not hard to find it. That's why you go on Yahoo and you look at the stats. And when you see the stats, you just look at the points. And like here, I see Philly 18, KC 18. Let's see, I keep seeing Denver was a 19, San Diego was an 18. So in the NFL, teams under 20 are very strong defenses. In college, I usually look at like 20 and under. And then there you get like Ohio State's an 11 and Penn State was a 12, but a lot of it, they didn't play anybody. Or they'd play Oregon and give up 33, and then they got Iowa and Michigan State, who didn't, even the Michigan game was 13-10. So you get low scores when you get good defenses in college. But when they get into the big games, then you throw out the unders, except for Georgia. Georgia has beaten Alabama and LSU, and they get 10 points. So they couldn't score a lot. Alex says to me that he likes Houston because I go, well, CJ Stroud lost to Michigan twice. And he says, yeah, but he scored a lot against Georgia. Yeah, because he ran the ball, not because he threw it. And Michigan put pressure on him, and Michigan stopped them, and that's what happens. So that's what you got to realize. So that's the key to sports betting, and it doesn't matter. Basketball, you want to bet defense. Baseball, you're betting on the pitcher. Hockey, I don't really bet, but I would bet the goalie. Teams with good defenses are really how you make your money sports betting. Because if you can stop the other team, I guarantee in basketball, I made a lot of money on the what was it, 80, 88, 89, 90 Pistons. They'd give up 70 points a game. You make a fortune. You bet the under. And it was, they gave up 60 points this game. Tough defense, and they won. And they won 2 championships, really 3. The Kareem foul was a joke, but Lambert had it coming to him because he's Lambert. So even though he didn't touch him, it looked like a foul, and it was Kareem, and it was Lambert, and they're gonna call the foul on Lambert every time. Plus, it's Kareem, so that's what you had. As good as Magic Johnson was, it was still defense. Larry Bird, great defense. McHale, Nat. So it's the defense. Even Jordan didn't win till he got a good defense. So you got Pippen and Horace Grant, who were good defense. Rodman. I don't think the Bulls won until they got Rodman from Detroit. Then they started winning because they then had the defense of Rodman and Pippen and Jordan. Then you had the offense of Jordan. So they were like an A team. They had Jordan, and then they had Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman on defense. You're always looking for the balanced team when we're betting sports. Baseball, we want a team that can hit and a good pitching staff. So you got to look at the trends, and you got to look at the results, and then you got to break the results down. Now, baseball, you're playing a lot of teams, so really you don't break it down too much. But football is probably the sport where you can say, "Oh, look at that! Oh, you beat Minnesota, whippy. They don't have a quarterback," or you beat the Bears, they don't have a quarterback, or New England, or the Jets. And even the Jets have Aaron Rodgers, but they didn't do anything. Or Miami, these weak teams who can't score, they don't have good quarterbacks. So you got to be careful when you're looking at the stats, going, "Well, wait a minute, let's see them against good quarterbacks." And as you go through this, as you go team by team, you go, where are the quarterbacks? We got Mahomes, we got Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, maybe. I don't trust Darnold. I don't trust Jordan Love. Caleb sucks. I don't trust Goff. Where are your quarterbacks? Tua? No. Stroud? No. Russell Wilson, I like from what he has done. Lamar, absolutely not. Josh Allen, I trust. Herbert, yeah, I do trust him. Bo Nix, yeah, he's getting there. And then you got Daniels, and now you got Penix. So now you got some new guys who are at the top of the class. And so now you start seeing who I can bet on or who I like. I was betting overs on Tampa Bay with the Baker every game. They were my over team. I had a couple of good over teams. It was Tampa. It was who are my over teams? Washington was an over team. Tampa, Cincinnati. They were teams with good offenses, like Cincinnati. Joe Burrow and their defense sucked. So you're getting big games. Had I known Daniels, they played in week 2 or week 3. I think it was week 3. It was Cincinnati had lost the first game, and then they went to Kansas City. Cincinnati lost to New England somehow. I blame the coach for not getting him ready in preseason. Then they go to KC and they play a heartbreaker, should have won and lose. Then they're home to Washington. And I remember locking this game, going, "Oh, okay, they have to win. They're laying 7. I lay 1," because I don't know Daniels at that point. So if this came later in the season, this would have been a lock over. But because it came early, and you don't really know what Daniels did, and I think in week 2 he didn't do anything, and you're like, "Oh, well, okay." So that's where you would get Cincinnati being. Baltimore was an over. Because Lamar scores points for you. He doesn't win big games for you. You never bet Lamar to win, but you bet Lamar over. Or if he plays a really shit team, like even Cleveland, they lost. I mean, so who knows? How can Lamar blow a 10-point lead at home to Cleveland? I mean, it's just Mahomes doesn't do that. So Baltimore was an over, and Cincinnati. I remember locking that game both times. Locked it over, and they scored in the 60s, and the lock was like 49 down to 43. That was a joke. But again, it's understanding the over teams, good quarterbacks, they can score, and they really don't have good defenses. And conversely, the under teams are like San Diego and Kansas City, who have these great defenses who score when they need to, but they don't put up 40 points. Miami's more of an over. When Tug played, when he was hurt, then they just went to a Z team. The Bears, no offense, pretty good defense. That's a good idea of an under team. So I laughed. Ben Johnson going to the Bears. He won't do anything. Ben Johnson is not a good offensive coordinator. He's a good offensive coordinator from the fact that the Lions had good running and good receivers and an average quarterback, but an excellent line. And again, the Lions make the mistake of having a expensive left tackle and an expensive right tackle, and then not having defense. One guy on defense. Cornerbacks suck. Linebackers suck. And you had Hutchinson, and when he got hurt, you had nobody. So what are you doing? I mean, this is the problem. You don't have the luxury of paying a right tackle $25 million and not having a defense. This is how I analyze the team. Bad GM. Yeah, you got a good running back and a good receiver. I don't know how good their Williams is, but he's sticking with Goff. Big mistake. He's doesn't have a defense. He's got some good safeties in Hutchinson. Hutchinson's out. He's fucked. And then you don't really need linebackers. And then you have these the secondary stinks. So he doesn't have a good defense. So instead of paying $20 million and getting 2 or 3 really good defensive players, maybe a good corner and some good linemen, he pays a right tackle. You don't win with offense, you win with defense, correct? Look at the Super Bowl, 2 strong defensive teams. He doesn't draft guys from Georgia, he drafts guys from Alabama. Doesn't know talent, doesn't know what he's doing. He's just going, oh, yeah, I'll just draft Alabama guys because Nick Saban was the coach. Not understanding Nick Saban's using the Steelers 70s Steeler defense because he learned that from George Perlis when he was the defensive coordinator at Michigan State. Perlis was the coach, was the defensive coordinator for the 70s Steelers. Goes back to Michigan State after winning 4 Super Bowls. Then he hires Nick Saban as the defensive coach, teaches him the Steelers defense. Nick Saban then goes to Alabama with the Steeler defense. It's a system defense. Plus, it's hard when you had Jack Ham and Jack Lambert and Andy Russell and Mike Wagner and Mel Blount and Joe Green and L.C. Greenwood. You know, my mother could have coached that. So it's not difficult, you know, but you can't. How do you replicate that in college, right? Oh, Alabama. It's the system's all you can do. You don't have a Joe Green and a Mel Blount and all those guys. So that's what you're looking at, and you're trying to. I look at things like that. That's why people, oh, what do you mean the Lions aren't good? Well, they're spending money in the wrong spots. You don't need a right tackle. What do you need a right tackle for? Who has a right tackle? In case he's got a good right tackle, he's probably good, but he's not. They don't pay him $20 million a year. And you think Philly's got a good right tackle? I doubt it. You have a pro right tackle, but not one you spend $20 million on. That's a mistake. You don't have that kind of talent to waste $20 million on a right tackle. If you like the guy, then get rid of your left tackle, move him to the left tackle where he's needed, and then just, you know, like the rest of your line, just fill it in, and then go take your $20 million that you paid the left tackle and go get some defense because you need it. Washington lit you up pretty bad, and you can blame the injuries. You obviously need a strength and conditioning coach, and you need to get grass field because you keep killing your people on your artificial turf. And they're not, I've never, you know, nobody else, Kansas City doesn't have these kind of injuries. Philadelphia doesn't have these kind of, you know, 1 or 2 guys, but not the whole team. So you got a problem with your strength and conditioning, your field, and you've got big problems with the injuries. No other team has injuries like that. San Francisco had some fluke injuries where they lost McCafferty and Deebo Samuel, a couple of defensives. You can't count Bozo. He's always hurt. So you have a big problem there. So that's how you bet football. You look for the defense. And you can bet the defense, more important than the quarterback. But you do like Like Missouri, pretty good defense. Brady Cook was very good. Arizona State, fairly good defense, and then they had a good quarterback in Scadaboo, who's a first round draft pick. And their defense was okay. So you're okay there. Kansas State always has a good defense. Um, so you're looking at a good. First of all, you need a good player, and then you can bet on them. And then the good defense and the coach who understands he needs a good defense. That's why Ole Miss is never there because he just runs offense. He somehow got some good defensive players and still lost because he wants to throw the ball and it's not prudent when he needs to run the ball and play defense. And that's a good coach, and they don't have one. So you do want to bet on the coach. So Andy Reid, like I said, he's okay. I don't know who this Philadelphia coach is, so I gotta question the Philadelphia coach. The coaching edge here goes to Mahomes, basically. That's how you bet football. How do you go to the casino and bet? Well, okay, we'll walk through it again. You play poker. You read the other person. You hide your hand. You don't let the person know what you have as long as you can. Now, there's two different things. So first, you got to understand who you're playing. Oh, we're going to be playing, are we playing a really good player or a not so good player? If Daniel Negredo sat at your table, how would you play him? I wouldn't bluff him because he calls all the bluffs. I would probably check a lot, get a full house. I would probably check it and then let him get aggressive because I'm checking, and then go over the top and put them all in and beat him. That's how I would play him. He likes, he'll call anything. So he'll think you're trying to bluff. I wouldn't bluff those guys. I'd be careful if he checked or not. I would see how he plays me. He's watching me, so he's playing off of me. So if I check, he's going to bet because he thinks I'm weak. I want him to think I'm weak. I'm not really weak, but I know he's watching me. The biggest thing in poker is you realize they're watching you. So you show them what you want them to see. And my best thing is confusion. I'm not consistent. I might check a full house. And I might bet the hell out of a full house. You got to read the board. You got to be careful. I got it straight. Wait a minute. There's a pair of tens out there. You assume he's got a full house. You do not play stupid going, well, I got the straight. The odds on him having the full house are X, Y, and Z. If you bet a decent amount and he calls you and there's a pair of tens on board, I guarantee 100% he's got the full house. Now, if he wants to play you and bluff you, once or twice, okay, fine. But then you realize how he plays. He's, like I tell you, there was an attorney who cheated with his wife, and they would do signals. And I was at their table. And the guy would always slow play. He would always check, check, check. So one hand, I get a pair, and he checks, so I check. Then I get two pair. There's like two diamonds on the board, three diamonds, whatever. He checks. I check. The end of the hand, he's got a flush, and I know he's got a flush. He checks. So I check. He turns over his flush. I turn over my two pair, and I just laugh because I knew exactly that's how he plays. He slow plays you. He wants you to bet, and then he's going to come over the top. So when he checks, I'm not falling for it, and I check. So it's very important to know who you're playing and how they play. Very much similar to football, where we've got to know the team. Are they offense or defense? It's like we know Kansas City and Philly tonight. And really, that's what you're looking at is What are they doing? How are they playing? So that's what you do in poker. You do the same team list we do in football with the players, and the older guys tend to be very close to the vest. They tend to not bluff. They don't really raise. So if I bet $30 and they call, and let's say there's, I don't know, ace, queen, nine. I hit the aces more than likely. If I bet 20 and he calls me, he hit the queen or the nine, or he's got kings. He won't fold, but he won't raise. You got him, and then you start betting 50, 60, and then he calls because he's hung up on his hand. He doesn't play you. And those are my favorite. They're not going to bluff you. They're not really. If they do go all in, they got a full house. So they tell you their hand. So you're trying to read the hands. You're trying to read what they're telling you. You're reading the board. The times I do bet big, I might have aces, and then the board comes, the flop's two diamonds. And then I want to get him out before the third diamond hits and he hits his flush. So now you're protecting yourself. You're betting you don't have a strong hand. Aces are not a strong hand after the five cards are out. Aces are nothing. So you have to take advantage of them. So you bet them pre-flop, but then on the flop, if there's any danger, you have to then push the guy out. And you can tell by the way he reacts. He's like, should I call or not? And then he calls because he's on a flush draw or a straight draw. And then you wait. And if the turn is a diamond, so there's two diamonds on the flop and the third diamond hit, and he hemmed and hawed about calling you, and he did call you, just check it out. You can't bet it because all you got aces. And if he makes a big bet, you got to fold. And I folded my aces to big bets in an instant. Because I think you're telling them. So if you make, I play $1, $2, $300 type of thing. And so if I make like a $30 bet, chances are I got aces or kings. So if the guy comes up with a $200 bet on me or $150 bet on me, I'm not stupid. He must have a hand, and he must. And he clearly knows what I have. He knows I have a hand that he can bet a lot on, right? So he's watching me. I'm sending out the signal. I'm betting $40. I'm not doing it on 2-7. Only an idiot does it on 2-7. Even if you're bluffing it, you're an idiot for doing it pre-flop because there's no money in the pot. And if everybody folds, you won $2 on 2-7. Big fucking deal. That's not how you play poker. You try to maximize the win in the pot. I want to win $100, not $5 pre-flop by making a $100 bet. So, but by making, let's say, a $30, $40 bet pre-flop, he knows I got a hand, right? Pretty much, most of the time. So for him, if he makes a big bet, because now a third diamond's come out, or a straight card, now it's 5, 6, 7, I'm out. I don't care if I'm bluffed out. Fine, you can have the pot. I made my bet. I made my bet on the flop. And if he's calling and then it looks like he caught a straight or flush, I get the fuck out. If he bluffed me, I don't care. You can't worry about if he bluffed you because does he do that normally? And if he does, that's one thing. If he doesn't, then we don't really care. And that's the point of it. So if he doesn't normally, he'll tell you what he normally does, and that's what you're reading. So you've got to be careful of the other people, and you've got to give signals out. So like there's a James Bond movie, Casino Royale, where he plays the guy to win the car. And he's got pocket aces and the guy's got pocket kings, and he's just checking. He's not betting. And I think an ace comes out on the flop. And so of course you would just check that. And then the guy gets a king on the river. And because Bond's slow playing it and not doing anything, he thinks, oh, okay, I'm going to bet my 3 kings. And he makes this huge bet. The problem is he's only getting called by trip aces. Bond's not calling him with a pair of aces, not into the big bet. So when you got to be careful when you make these big bets. But Bond trapped him. He didn't give him the information. So he doesn't know what Bond has. And Bond's sitting on trip aces checking. And then the guy finally goes all in on his trip kings, thinking, he doesn't have anything. He's checking. He didn't know he didn't know the player. So if I'm at the table, and I know Bond does this, he slow plays, he checks, he doesn't want to reveal his hand. And then I hit three kings. I'm going to make a decent size bet. I'm not going to bet my Austin Martin on the hand, and I'm not going to go all in. I'm going to make a decent bet because I want to see what Bond's doing. Now, does Bond come over the top or call? This we'll see. If he comes over the top, I know I'm fucked with my trip kings, but I got to call. And if he just calls me, then I'm going to see his hand, and I'll see his trip aces going, you slow play. But he's got it right. You don't show your hand. You're very careful showing your hand. For some new players, I've got Kansas City 30, Philadelphia 27 today. My bet's Philly in 7.5 with the over. In case you're worried about the Super Bowl, please ask questions or comments. Feel free. That's why this is a live class, because I got the balls to answer questions. So, in a lot, if you watch World Series of Poker, tournaments are different. Tournaments are bullshit. You're basically running out of time. So you're not really playing poker. You're just going, well, I got 3 big blinds left. Oh, I caught an ace. I'm going to go all in. Well, that's just luck. It's ridiculous. And then they try to show it like, oh, look at the guys in the poker tournament. This guy won $1 million. It was all luck, because at the end, you're running out of time. You just go all in, and you just happen to, like Joe Hossam, he happened to hit the cards. So you got lucky basically by going all in. I'm all in, you're all in. What is that? That's just bullshit. That's why I like a cash game. But that's what you're looking at, is you've got to understand your opponents. Are they bluffer? They're either bluffers or they're tight. They'll bet when they have a good hand. Will they check raise you? And, a lot of them will call. Most people give their tells go on the first before the flop. Well, okay, I'll bet. Like I'm playing 1-2. Okay, $2. Nobody has anything. If they have anything, they're going to bet 10 or 15. Some guys make it 10 just because they have an ace. So again, you're trying to understand the players. I can't believe I bought chip and dip for the Super Bowl and I get the wrong kind of chips. They're like cheese and garlic or something. Now, I like garlic, but none of my chips, and it was just for the Super Bowl. I get the French onion dip, but I just want regular chips. Just a small bag, nothing big. Anyway, so you're careful giving out your information. What do I show you? I try to play hands differently. Pocket aces, I might bet 50. I might check. Now, the biggest hand I won, I checked my pocket aces. Actually, I called my pocket aces. First lady must have had kings or queens, bets $30, $40. I got pocket aces. I call. I don't raise because she's already said I got a big hand. So I don't want to, I just call, and it brought in 2 other people who called. Now there's 4 of us in the flop. The flop comes an ace. I think it was like ace, 6, 10. It gave one guy 6s and 10s. It gave me a set of aces, and a lady with kings or queens, she ends up checking. So she checks, I checked. Because I got trip aces, I don't need to reveal that I got trip aces. So I don't do anything. And then the guy hits 2 pair, makes a big bet. Kings go out, and I'm just, the drool starts pouring down my mouth. So I just call him. I think he might have went all in, or he might have just made a big bet. I think we ended up going all in. So I call. I got a set of aces. He turns over his 2 pair, everybody else folded, and then he realizes he can't win because if he hits the 6 or the 10 to give him a full house, gives me a full house because the 6 and 10 are on the board. So he has to pair the board, which gives me a full house. And he comes over and shakes my hand, says, nice hand. And I kind of apologize that I'm sorry, but you're fucking with me. You had no idea I had aces, and you had no idea I had a set of aces. All I did was call the initial pre-flop kings and then check my trip aces, as that's when you check them. Now, if I just had aces, I might have made a small bet. And then 2 pair comes along and I get my ass kicked. But I think I'm going against kings. This guy hits the 2 pair, but I get lucky. I hit the trip aces. And then when I hit them, I don't tell you I hit them. So you keep the secret. I'm checking. And then they look at you and they realize that they assume you're checking because you don't have anything, because they're not reading me right. They don't read me that I can play those little games and I can check with a set of aces. I flopped a quads one time, and one guy bet, next guy bet. I called, then somebody bet, then the next card flips, and then all in. Okay, I'm all in, and then the last guy actually folded because there's already 3 all-ins. They were on flush draws, and I had quads. I was like, I didn't make one bet with quads, and I won a huge hand. So again, you got to be careful. You don't want to tell what you got, but there's a time to protect. So if you have aces or kings, and it's a flush or straight draw out there, you've got to be, even a pair, you've got to be very cautious. You kind of make a bet to see if they call you. And if they call you, that you have to always say, why did he raise? Why did he call? Why is he checking? You have to get that information. You have to figure that out to win at poker. And you'll see what the guy does, and the guy checks, and then you bet and he goes out. Okay. He checks, you bet, he calls. Okay, maybe he caught a piece of it. How strong is he? What does he do on the other? So when you're not in the hand, you've got to be looking and watching who's checking, who's raising, who's bluffing. You want to see the showdown and see what most people in Detroit I play with are pretty much. There's a Russian woman who bluffs, but to beat her, you just wait till she checks and then you fold. So when she's betting, she's bluffing, and when she's checking, she's got a hand. But normally, most of the players there are pretty much, when you see the reveal at the end, they both had hands. They might overplay 2 pair. Some guy hits a straight on the river or a flush, but generally they have some form of hand. There very few are actually bluffing because they're not usually professional poker players, and they have a job. They really can't afford to lose. There was one guy, he'd be at the table and he'd be reading a book. How are you going to know what everybody has if you're reading a fucking book? What are you doing here? Go read your book. You don't read a book at the poker table. My favorite is the guy who looks up at the TV. He's not even interested in my decision because he's got me killed. He's got a full house, so you don't fuck with guys looking at the TV. But you got to be careful about that, because if you tell it, some guy will bluff you and he'll look at the TV and you're going to fold because he thinks, oh, if I look at the TV, he thinks I have a good hand. And then, so you got to be careful not to really say anything to people. So again, there's the bluffer, there's the guy who bets big with a decent hand, and there's the checker who slow plays everything. And I've given you examples of all three. I do all three. I won't bluff often, but I will. Again, everybody checks, I check. Everybody checks again, I'm going to bet. Because because who I play with bets their hands. They don't check. They check when they don't have anything or just a small piece. So if it's check, more than likely I bet $20 and everybody folds. I'm like, okay. because they know when I bet, I have a hand. But when they're all checking, I will bet just to confuse them. Normally, I have a decent hand, and then I'm watching the board and I'm watching them bet, and I'm playing off of them. So when they say you don't bet your hand, you bet your opponent's, that's kind of what they mean. But I still think you bet your hand. If you got aces, you better bet to protect them from the straights and flushes. If you have a straight or flush draw, you're not betting a lot because you want to catch the flop. Catch the flop. You want to catch your hand, right? So you got a flush draw. You want to catch the flush, right? So you don't want to bet $200 and then the guy calls you and now you have to catch it or you lose. You want to kind of, just I want to see the card cheaply. Then when I get the flush, I'll bet it. So that's how you kind of want to play. Anyway, so that's poker. Again, you're playing the other people, watching what they do, and not showing your hand so they can pick up any tells. So you're really careful on how you play your hand. And they're watching and they're looking for tells. So you give them fake tells. I've once had a full house and I got my chips, right? And I am purposely knock them over so they think I'm nervous. I did this. I swear to God, I knew they were watching me. I don't know why I just said that because I don't. People usually are liars that say, "Oh, I swear to God." Sorry, well, that was stupid. Anyway, so it's a big hand. I got my full house. The guy is watching me and looking for a tell, so I give him one. I act nervous, knocking over. He calls. I turn over the full house with a little grin on my face going, I caught you. I knew you were looking at me, and I gave you something to see that I wanted you to see, and it wasn't what you thought it was. So you're always being watched at the poker table. So understand that. Be very careful with that. So that's poker. And again, I quit a winner as I do in football and as I do with everything else. So if I start with, let's say, $500 and I get it up to $7, then I start getting bad cards for an hour, 2-9, 3-7, and I'm handing out once in a while. I'm big blind and I make a bet. Now I'm down to like 600. I get up and leave. I won $100, and that's my goal of being there is to win. I don't know how much I'm going to win, but I could just as easily have aces and some guy flops a set on me and I lose $200. So I got to be very careful about that. So I do quit a winner, up 600, quit a winner, I'm off. And then psychologically I won. Now, if I'm in Vegas, I'll come back an hour later and do it again. So it doesn't mean you quit for the day. You're just quitting that session. I won that session. Let's go eat. Let's go shopping. Let's come back. All right. A couple hours later. No, I'm going to bet it. And we will take out my 500 and play it again. And if I keep winning 100 or 200, I've now won $1,000 at the end of the day, making 100 here and 200 here. I didn't lose, which is very easy to do in Vegas. So that's really what you must understand. So that's the point of it is you're trying. That's how you gamble. You quit a winner. When we bet football, we add to our bankroll. It's the same thing. So I win. Now here today it's different. It's one game, so we either win or lose it, and we add it to our bankroll, and that's all we do. Off we go. But you can't really look at. No. But in a regular Saturday, when we hit the college and we make 1,500, we probably want to bet 700-800 on the pros and quit that. The biggest depression I did is I once, now this is back in the 70s, I hit like I go like up $1,700, something like that, maybe 2,500 on Saturday. I hit everything, 15 games, I hit them all. And then here come the pros. And I lose like 900. So I think I ended up 1,700 or something. So I was up 25. I ended up 17. I was depressed. I was like, fuck, I lost my money back. Like, it's because I'm playing to win. I don't play for the entertainment of the game. I play to win the game, which gives me the entertainment. And so I ended up 17, and I said, I'll never do that again. So I got to be careful when I bet Saturday what I'm going to do Sunday. And I should have reduced my bets. Now, sometimes I'll clean up on Sunday also. It's rare that I'll run the table on both days, although I did that a couple times this year. But normally you run the table on Saturday. For some reason, you don't run the table on Sunday. So you got to be very careful what the plays are on Sunday. All right, so let's talk casinos. So there's basically 4 games. There's blackjack, there's craps, there's roulette, and backgammon. And all 4 of the games, there's big house edges, which I prefer poker because there's really no house edge. It's just the rate they take. So let's start with blackjack. Well, we know the rules, right? We assume the dealer always has a 10. So if I have 16, I'm going to hit every time. If the dealer gets a 6, I'm going to assume him for 16. And I'm going to let him go over because it's a real strange game. The first person that goes over loses. So even though I might go over and the dealer might go over, I lose because I went over first. It's the strangest game I've ever seen. So I got 15 and I get an 8. He's got a 10 up, so I think he's got 20. He flows over his card. It's a 6, and then he takes a 10. He's got 26. Well, what just happened? We both lost, but because I lost first, I lose. And if you're still in the game when he goes over, then you win. But if I go over and then he goes over, we both lost, but for some reason I lose my money. And, it's just, that's a strange rule. Now you can take advantage. Blackjack pays, I don't know what it used to pay, 6 to 5 or 7 to 6 or something like that. All I know is that's where I got these chips from. So I'm at the DI and I get a blackjack with $5 and they give me 6. So that's why I got some extra ones. There's really not a lot of strategy. You're playing the dealer. You're assuming a 10 because there's 10 jack, queen, king. So there's 16 10 cards. So you assume they got one of the 16 and you play off of him. So if he shows you one of his cards. So if he shows you a 4, oh, you got 14, you're going to go over, I assume, the 10s. Card counting doesn't really work. It's still based on streaks. If you're hot, you'll win no matter what. And if he's hot, he'll win no matter what. The card counting could just as easily, I get 16 and he gets 20 as I get 20 and he gets 16. There's no rule that you're going to get all the 10s, right? And then you're fucked if you got a 14 and you know that there's a lot of 10s in the deck. What you can do, stick with 14? Well, he's probably got 20 because there's a lot of 10s in the deck. So you really have to be careful with that. With the card counting, it doesn't really work. Just because there's a lot of 10s in the deck doesn't mean you're getting them and the dealer could get them. You've got to play your streak. So as you're winning, you have to. Now, I was taught to play a progressive betting streak. So I started with 1 unit, which would be $5. If I won, I went to 2 units. Now I'm betting. If I won, I'm betting 3 units. If I win, I bet 5 units. And I leave it at 5 one time, and then I start pulling back money. And then I go up to 7, and then 10, and then, so I got up. I was playing with my uncle, and we're playing blackjack, and I get hot, and it's 5. It's 25. We're at 50. I was $185 a hand. That's how the streak went. I must have won 15 hands in a row, and just, now I got a big stack behind me. And then as soon as you lose, you're back to 1 unit. And it's such a beautiful system because as you win, now you got to play smart. You do double your 11s and you split your aces. I love how they only give you one card, but you be careful with that. But when you're hot, you bet. You increase your bet because you're going to lose more hands than win most of the time. And so therefore you want to take advantage of your streaks and bet a little bit more. But as soon as you go cold, you get the fuck out. You're back to $5. Same thing in roulette. You'll do the same thing. If it's either you're usually red or black or odd or even. Maybe you play your number. Oh, I'm my number 7, and maybe you play that, or you play there's the 4 numbers, so you put it in the middle, or you can just play the 7, or you play the 7 and whatever's next to it. So you can do that, but I normally play red or black, and then or odd or even, and you just simply and the bad guys are the 0, 00, because they're not odd, they're not even, they're not red, they're not black, they're green. And so they kill you. So if that hits and you're on odd or even or red or black or the numbers, you lose. Now you can bet the 0, 00. You can put your chip right in between it and have 0 or 00 when you win. But that's the neutralizer. That's where the odds should be 36. I think there's 34 numbers. The odds are 36 to 1. They should be 34 to 1. There's 34 numbers. But 0, 00 aren't included in the odds. That's where the house advantage is. So if you do play roulette, I normally play colors or odd even, and I normally watch. So if red's hitting, you don't fuck around with it. You just keep betting. You keep betting red until it loses, and it could go on 20 more rolls. But I got friends who say, "Oh, I'll start betting black. It's due." What happens after 10 times when red keeps coming up, and you could have won a fortune on red? Where do you get all the money to bet on black? Oh, I bet 50. Now it's 100. Now it's 200. Now it's 400. You got to bet all this money to break even. But if you just go with the red and you bet, $10 and it hits, now 20 and it hits, and 50 and it hits, and you're winning all this money, and all you're doing is going with the streak. So roulette, you play streaks. You can take anything you want, red, black, odd, even. They're even money, as they have been. And that's the way to do it. Back rack, you don't do anything in back rack. They do it all. If it's a 6, the naturals win 8 or 9. That's an automatic winner. And then you're playing it. There is no 10 is not closer than 5. 10 is 0. So it goes 0, then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is the winner. If you get an 8 or a 9, it's a natural, you win. But if you're dealt a 3 and the guy has a 10, you're closer because it goes to 0. So you're winning 3 to 0. The cards are the 10, Jack, Queen, and King. The face cards are all worth 0. So you could have 10 Jack and you really have 0. And then you still need a 9, right? So you got to be careful on that. Usually I either bet bank or player. There is a tie you can bet on. Ties do happen a lot because of the 0, but I don't really, I really want to either play bank or player. And then you just ride out the streak. And as you're winning, you bet more. And that's a very good way because I could lose, let's say I could lose 7 hands in a row. I'm only losing 1 unit. Now I start winning. And now I've won 1 unit and 2 units and 3 and then 5 and then 5 again. And if I can win the 5 and the 5 again, so in 4 hands, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5. So I could in 5 hands, I could lose 10 hands, win 5 hands, and I'll be up because I'm increasing my bet. So it's really interesting. Even with a winning percentage, you can win because of the way you bet. And if you bet the way I'm telling you, you bet your streak, because you will get streaks. If you flip a quarter, it should be 50 heads and 50 tails, but I guarantee you it won't be head, tail, head, tail, head, tail. There'll be 10 heads in a row, and then there'll probably be 10 tails in a row somewhere in the 100, but it'll never be head, tail, head, tail, head, tail. That's almost impossible. So you'll see the streak and you bet on it. You never bet against the streak because you can't bet it to end. Just go with it. Go with the flow. Don't fight it. If you fight the streak, you're only going to lose a lot. If you go with the streak, you only lose one bet. I hit. Oh, now black came up. I lost, but I won the first three, and then I lost, and now I'm back to 1 unit. And that's the beauty of going with the streak. That's what you want to do. So that's the same thing in basically all the casino games. Blackjack, you're going to do the same thing. Roulette, the same. Baccarat, the same. And then we get the craps. The 7-out is the killer if you're playing the pass line. So if I'm sitting at the casino and I walk up to a crap table, I will, what's going on? 7-out, 7-out, 7-out. Well, fuck if I'm playing the numbers. I'm playing 7-out. I'm playing the don't pass, which you can do that. You can bet against the dice and play, I hope the 7-out happens. The difference is you only win one time with the 7-out. I throw out a 4, I hit a 6, I hit an 8, 7-out. I win one bet. I could hit my points for, I could hit 5 6s in a row. I don't win anything. I 7-out and I won the one bet. If I'm on the pass line, which is why everybody likes it, okay, I threw a 4. Now I hit a 6. Okay, everybody's on this. I hit it again. I hit it 5 times. I never hit my point, but I hit 5 6s, and then I 7-out. And people should have made money betting that I hit the 5 6s. So that's why people play the pass line. You get true odds if you play the odds on it. So when you're playing the pass line, and you can play the come bet in the middle of the pass bet. So you throw the pass. When you play the pass line, you always play the odds because they're true odds. So if let's say you play the pass line, you hit the 4. You're not getting odds on your 4. You're just going to get, let's say it's $5. You're just going to get $5 back if you hit the 4. There's no odds, even though the odds are that the 7's going to hit. You got to play behind the line. So you play $15 behind. So you got $20 bet, but you got 5 and then 15 behind. And then the 4 hits. Well, you only get the 5 for your pass line, but you get 2-1 on your $15 odds. That's where you make money in craps, is the odds bets. And if you do the same thing, so you hit the 4, now you bet the come. And now you got an 8 and a 6. Now you play the odds on those. And then if you hit the 8 and the 6, because those are pretty good odds, you get paid plus the odds. So on the comeback, you might bet 5 and then play $15 odds on the comebacks. So that's the advantage, is playing the odds, not the natural bet. So that's why you play a small bet first and then find out what the maximum odds are. And that's what you play with the bet. Now I got $20. I got $5 on the 10, but I got $20 in odds. And then the 10 hits, you get 5, and then you get 40 for your odds. So it behooves you to play a small amount on the bet and a big amount on the odds. Then you got to hit the number. But if numbers are hitting, fine. If it's 7-out, you don't play the numbers. You wait till the board changes. If it is on that, if the numbers are hitting, then you get in there with the numbers. And it's a very, the odds are always the 7. The 7's there, it's going to hit. That's going to happen. So you kind of want to get in and out. You want to, okay, I hit 6, 8, 9. Okay, give me my money back, because the 7 is so due, it's ridiculous. Then the 7 hits. Now, you'll get times where people will play, people will hit the number. My first time I was at Caesar's Palace, I really didn't know what I was doing. I don't know, maybe I had $100. And the dealer says, I'll take care of you. Okay, I don't know what's going on. So he plays the numbers for me, and I got the pass line and some odds. And it went on for an hour. The guy threw and hit point after point after point after number after number. It was unbelievable. And I'm making a ton. And then all of a sudden, I got this feeling that it's over, right? And sure enough, the next roll, he 7'd out. And I knew he was going to 7 out. That's when I start scaring myself. I can feel that stuff. I can feel when I play craps, when I throw the dice, if I'm going to do well or not. So that's why I wait. And then when I get that, it's almost like a Twilight Zone feel. And I kind of get into the dice, and I don't look. I just throw them, and I feel the dice. And they'll say, "Well, please hit the back wall." I go, "I'm not even looking at the wall," and they can tell something's up. That I'm actually just really focused on the dice, and I'll say, "Give me an 8," and then I throw it, and I do very well when I get that mood. Um, so uh, I don't. If I don't get it, I don't want to roll it. But when I feel it, and sometimes I'll be walking by and I'll feel it, and then I'll go to a table and I want to roll. Get out of my way! I'm rolling 10 passes in a row right now. It's amazing the feels you get in a casino. You can feel it in poker. I read the cards. I'll think of the card. Okay, geez, I need the 10 of diamonds to get my flush or whatever, or get my full house. And I just kind of sense it. And I look up and the 10 of diamonds hits. And I'm just, the hair on the back of my neck stands up. I can't believe that I called the card. And I've done it 200, 300 times. I've got to be in a real hypnotic state where I'm just closing my eyes, picturing the 10 of diamonds, feeling it, and then it hits. So I got my eyes closed. I don't even know what hit yet. And then so he throws it, and then I look, and then I see it. Now, obviously, it doesn't happen. Probably happens 20% of the time, which is still amazing. But when I hit it, I get pretty excited. So that's how you handle a casino. You stay away from the games. Slot machines, you're going to lose. Video poker, you're going to lose. You got to be very careful about that, because the games are rigged, right? They're controlling what comes out, and they're controlling the win rate, especially slot machines. You got to be crazy to play slot machines. These are for the shy people who go to the casino, who don't want to look bad in front of other people, but they this is nice, I'll gamble. And so they go gambling, but this way nobody sees them, and they're not, and they're shy, and then they throw in their money and they do it. And this is the art of it is playing the table games, not the slot machines. Sometimes I'll play video poker where I'll try to do my unit thing. So if I win, I go from 1 to 10 because I won. And then sometimes I do good at that, and then I lose. But I didn't wait for the 1, the 2, the 3, the 5 units, because I know in a video game it's not gonna last. So I if I really want to, I push it up. Okay, I won 2 in a row. Now I'm going to bet 10, and we'll see what happens. But those are usually rigged. You really want to stay away from them. But anyway, so that's how you handle a casino. Poker doesn't have the odds against you. You're playing the people. They're watching you. You be careful. The table games, you just got to play streaks. Baccarat, you don't do anything. The dealer, it's a 4. Players got 4, banks got 6. The bank holds, or the bank has, there's the rules. They have to hit, they have to stick, and the dealer controls it. So you're just playing bank or player. And blackjack, you're just trying to not go over before the dealer goes over. I love that game. I went over. You went over. Yeah, but you went over first, so you lost. And the dealer, I went over second, so I win. I mean, it's insanity. Craps, beware the 7, and beware of the gimmick bets, the 2, the 3, the 11, the 12. The field, never play the field. The odds aren't good. That's why I get at you for the odds. When you play these, how many yards is Joe Blow going to get tonight? The problem is your odds are terrible. I'm sure money lines, your odds are terrible. Why do you play money lines? I mean, why would you play a money line like tonight's game? Why would you play a money line? The spread's 1. Just pick the winner. Lay 11 to 10 with either team and pick it. Why would you go money line? You're afraid of the 1. It's not good. Maybe, what kind of money line is it on Philadelphia? Maybe is it more than 110? But you certainly can't worry about them only winning by one. So just be careful with that. I don't really get that. Let's check the line again, and then we're going to get into some more investing. Yep, KC won 48.5. All right, so we see that. All right. So in our world, we make money, we go to work, we do something. We need money to eat and pay our bills. And so we tend to go to school to get a better job so we make more money. And then we can buy a house and a car and eat and all this stuff. And the problem people have is, okay, I'm working and I'm making decent money. What do I do with my money? What do I do? I've got $10,000. What do I do with it? And this is where you are not educated. The problem is the most of the people. So you say, well, let me ask. I'll ask somebody. And you go to a financial planner or a stockbroker, and you're absolutely doing the wrong thing. That's not who you ask. It's who you think you should ask, but you don't understand enough. So when I teach you how to play backrack, and you're going to bet banker player, I've played it before. I'm giving you my education on that, and I have no, what do they call it? No skin in the game. I don't get a commission by helping you. I'm helping you. When you go to a financial planner or stockbroker, he's trying to cheat you. He's trying to get commission from you. So it's not what's best for you, it's what's best for him. I'm going to put you in Tesla stock, you'll make money. More importantly, I get commission. That's the problem. He's not doing it for you, he's doing it for him. If you didn't learn Austrian economics, which I'm sure none of you did in college, you're probably fucked, because you go to a financial planner and he's going to put you in stocks. If you go to a bank and you say, well, let me, I don't know what to do with my money. Well, there's an annuity here, or we can put you in a mutual fund, which is a basket of stocks. Again, I get commission off of you. So you're dealing with really dirty people who have skin in the game, who are trying to put you into things that they make money off of you on. So it's not what's best for you. So you got 60,000, like a tack on Wall Street guy. We can play that game. What does he do with his money? I can put it in the bank and get 2% interest. Or at least my money is working for me. I earned it. Or you can buy stocks, if you know which ones, which are very risky. Bonds you don't want, and you don't get anything in that. You get in 10 years, we'll give you 2%. What's a 2-year bond is you get 4% of inflated money that isn't worth anything. You can buy a real estate trust, which is buying mortgages that are wrapped up. So Joe's going to pay his mortgage, and they all have like 5-6% on their mortgage that you're getting. So you can get 5% on mortgage. On everybody paying their mortgage, I get a percentage of that. You could do that, but you got to be careful. How else can you invest? Well, there's Bitcoin. You can invest in that, but it's a Ponzi scheme. So that leaves you with, well, I got the money. I could just keep it at home, my 60 grand, Or you can buy assets. A lot of people do that. I'll buy a Van Gogh, although those are $1 million, or Picasso. Or I can buy baseball cards. Oh, they're not worth anything. They are if they're graded and they're mint condition. They are worth a lot more than you think. I could buy a Rolex. Well, they're expensive. Yeah, I could buy a $20,000 Rolex and maybe it'll go up. I'm not sure. It will, but you don't know. It's got to be something you like, that you enjoy. And then the last thing is gold and silver, possibly um, platinum or whatever. But that's an asset and it's money. So you don't know what to do. Why don't you know what to do? Because you don't know who to trust, you don't know who to listen to, and you don't know why things go up in value or not. So you really got a quandary going, well, how do I invest? What do I do? Well, you can bet on football. Um, Professor told me that. I can play poker, so I can actually make money that way, as opposed to the stock market or real estate trust or dealing with the bank or the stocks. The banks and the stocks are the most corrupt, but they won't tell you that. Buying a Mantle card or a Brady card or a Jordan card will make you money. They will go up. Buying a Picasso will make you money, but you can't afford it. Buying a Rolex will make you money. Buy a small one. There's $10,000 Rolexes. But if you don't like to wear it, and you don't really like Rolexes. See, in baseball, you do like Mantle, so you're gonna buy Mantle and you'll make money on it. Okay, great. How do I sell it? That's the other part of the equation. So I do this, and then how do I sell it? All right, so there I could go on eBay or go to a trade show. Here's my Mantle, and you put an auction up, and then if it's a Mantle, then you're going to get people buying it. How do I collect? Well, they're going to PayPal you the money, and then you take it from PayPal into the bank, and then you can either leave it in the bank or you can pull it out and put it in your safe. So let's walk through this. Buying stock. Well, what stock do I buy? Well, I'll listen to the salesman who wants my commission. Probably you don't want to do that. But you don't have enough knowledge to know, do I bet Tesla or do I play Apple or Amazon, or what do I play? What's going to make money? Well, for that, you've got to understand a great deal about finance and economics. Well, to look at, do I play Tesla? Let me see their financial statements. The stock's $400 a share. I can buy, 100 shares will be $40,000. I could buy, let's say, 100 shares. Is it going to go up or not? Well, what's the financial statement say? Are they making money? I don't know how to read it. So you've got to know how to look at a financial statement, which will tell you sales, expenses, and what kind of revenue, what kind of income do they make. You're really looking at their income. And then you're looking at, do they make it? But what is their next year? Are they going to be profitable or not? This is where you got to understand inflation and economics. So now you keep going down the rabbit hole. Well, let's see. We're going to have a recession next year, so people aren't going to buy cars. So I don't want to buy Tesla, even though they have earnings. It's future earnings. Is that how a stock works? Well, most of this is way over everybody's head. They sit there and they go to a broker and he's a salesman. He has no idea. So, really, you're playing a game that shouldn't be played. Also, it's manipulated by Michael Douglas and Blue Star, and Blue King says, I'm buying. And then when it hits a number, dump it, and then everybody will buy it. It's very manipulated. The things that come out on the company, you have no idea. You try to go to the what are they called? I want to say the Blue Stars, but I can't even think of it. But you go to the big company. You go to Coca-Cola. All right, we've been drinking Coke for years. Fine. Okay. Yeah, that's probably going to be around. So you can play those kind of stocks, Coke and Pepsi and gas stocks and utilities. I know everybody needs gas and electricity. So you can play those, which offer you less risk and less reward. Uh, you can play Amazon, but be careful; it's very expensive. Is it worth it? So the expensive stocks, $200-300, are they worth it? Is it worth $200-300, or has everybody jumped on it and it's only worth 100, but it's $200? Well, you don't want to be in that, but you got to know that that's overexposed. Um, so you've got to then, oh wait, we're having inflation, we're having a recession. Well, that's going to affect the stock market. I wrote my thesis on that, how the trade cycle affects the stock market. And when interest rates were going up, you would get out of the car sector and the fixed asset and the housing sectors because things were going to cost more. And as we know in a market, the more things cost, the less they sell. When interest rates were going down, then we got into the car market because now as rates go down, the cars get cheaper. People need a car and they buy it. So it's got to be something that's needed, not wanted. And it's got to be in the market. As I talked to you about the Camry at 35,000 or the ribs at 45, those are above the market. You got to understand that, which you won't. I'm teaching it to you, but it's a hard pill to swallow to understand what is a market and are things selling at the market. And the market's pretty much known. You know what the market is selling for because you can see it. You can see the Camry sells for 25,000. Okay, that's the market. It's what things sell for. So if I put my homes out and this sells for $1,000, that's the market. So I can't sell it for 2,000 because the market's 1,000. So I know that. Oh, okay, well, if that's what the market is. So I got to be careful with that. Um, you're also so you're trying to analyze the stocks, but you got to know the economy. You've got to know the inflation, and each piece of the pie directs you where to go. So you're sitting there. Well, I got 60 grand. I don't know what to do. What's happening? Well, we've got major inflation, which means the money's being printed and worth less. How is that going to value me? What do I go? Well, I don't want to be in stocks because people will have less money to spend at the companies. Do I want to be in at the bank? No, because my money's losing value. So I got to counter the inflation. I got to counter that the value of the dollar is going down. So the only way I can counter that should be getting into gold and silver. I'm not sure why people think Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation when you don't even know what it is. You can't hold it, and you don't even know if it's real, and it's expensive for something not real. Gold and silver is affordable, and it's a hedge against inflation and the fact that as the dollar's losing value, and you then the dollar's losing more and more value. So what gains when the dollar loses value? And that's gold and silver. Not the stock market doesn't gain, and the houses should gain if they're real, if they're not fixed. The money in the bank loses because the money's losing value. So I don't want to be in the bank or the stock market. So the inflation causes me to go into either a house or gold and silver. But the housing values are so high and the interest rates are so high, kind of kills that. So it leaves me with the only out will be gold and silver because they will go up as the dollar loses value. And they are very limited and they can't be printed. What ruins something? Over supply. If there's a million houses on the market, there I'm in trouble. Uh, the stocks, if it's gone up so high, I'm in trouble. So you try to get into things based on what it is. So like I'm talking about the Super Bowl, we're betting on Mahomes because he's a winner. He's done it before and he'll do it again. And he should win, but we're looking for a lot of points today, and we're looking for a close game. That's really what we're looking at. And so the data is telling us this. We've seen Mahomes in other Super Bowls, he wins. We've seen Philly and them, and they score a lot of points. Okay. Well, what do you do with your 60,000? You have to understand what the hell's going on, which you don't because they're not telling you. If you go for help, you're going to get screwed. You'll be in stocks. There was a girl I was working with who sold her silver to get into a annuity at 9%. And I just laughed at her. I says, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. You need to go ask your financial advisor why he didn't why you would sell your silver and then fire him because he's not looking out for you. He's looking out for his commissions. It went right over her head. So when you are getting advice, you've got to know it's good advice and you got to take advantage of the advice you get. Most people don't. I tell people get out of your 401k now. It's worth 500 grand. Well, that's a lot of gold you can buy. Gold's about to go up. The dollar's going down. Your 401k will go down. It's not going up. So you don't even understand it. You're still playing red and black's starting to hit, right? So red at roulette and now black's hit. Well, I'm still going to play red and black's hit again and black's hit again. You're still playing red. And that's the problem with the 401k. You're in the 401k because you made money at it. So you think your financial advisor, stockbroker knows what he's talking about. Oh, he put me in the 401k in a mutual fund, or I'm in Tesla or Amazon. Oh, and he was right. Well, it's fixed. It's a Ponzi scheme. Of course he was right because that's what was happening, but you're not looking at the variables. So that'd be like me telling you to bet Detroit and golf's out. Well, they're not going to be the same team without them. They're not going to throw the interceptions, but basically, are there variables that change? Yes, the inflation's changed. So it's killed what the advisor knows and tells you. He's not catching the variables. This is why I don't like, I don't trust things technical because there's too many variables, and when they change, you're just going to look at the old chart and not catch on to the new stuff. As I said, you got trends on the Bears, and now Caleb's there. Well, your trends are useless from last year. You need Caleb trends. Now you need Penix trends. Now you need Jalen Daniels trends. They weren't there last year. How could you possibly get their trends if they weren't there? So you've got to understand inflation. There's now the dollar's lost its value and you should be in gold and silver. That's what it's telling you. It's directing you into gold and silver, but you don't know that. Your financial planner, he only gets commission if you're in stock. So he's not going to tell you that. So what do you do? Do you listen to a guy who doesn't have your best interest at heart? Or do you try to understand what you should do based on, wait a minute, professor told me that if there's inflation, I should get into gold and silver. And then people will say, well, gold and silver hasn't moved. Oh, wait, but the professor told me there was price fixing by JP Morgan and Comex, keeping the price down. So the question is, will it break? Well, wait, yeah, there's Russia and China and BRICS who are buying all of it. So that's making the price going to go up. And the dollar's going out because they keep printing it. Because I understand if they keep printing the dollar, it goes to zero. I understand that because the fucking Romans and the Germans and the French and the English, and it just happened in Greece and Sri Lanka and all these countries. Yeah, it just did go to zero, didn't it? So there's a lot of action reaction, which I teach you. Like the Titanic hit the iceberg, the water came in, it sunk. You need to get to your lifeboat. I was watching Andy Scheckman yesterday, and he obviously was watching me, and he used the term life raft. He didn't say lifeboat. He said life raft. Well, you got to get into the life raft. So I went on into his comments and said, no, I use lifeboat, not life raft. Like, I know you're listening to me. At least get it fucking right. So it's funny how all these guys are listening to me, but they won't give me credit for it. I laugh at that. Anyway, so you've got to know what do you do, and this is the problem. So in America, everybody listens to their financial planners because he's made them money because the stock market's gone up. But now the iceberg's out there, and they're not turning the wheel. And most of these financial planners are out for commission, not for the people. And this is where the people are getting screwed. So Yes, your choice of stocks and bonds and real estate trust, or putting your money in the bank, getting an annuity, doing mutual funds. Those are all options, but they don't work now. That's the problem. You have to change. But what do I hear? I got 500 grand in a 401k. I'm not selling it. You don't have 500 grand because it's not worth 500 grand anymore. And this is where people are don't understand about the investments, is when the money goes to zero and gets changed. They don't understand that. They can't keep up with it. It's sort of like the New York Giants with Lawrence Taylor and Bill Parcells. All of a sudden they're gone. Taylor retired, Parcells retires. So all of a sudden it's a different team. So you don't bet the Giants. You bet them with Parcells and Taylor, but when they're gone, it's changed. You don't bet on them anymore. Now you go to Montana and Bill Walsh, or now you go to Brady. Now you're at Mahomes. You know, so it keeps moving. Well, that's what happens in finance. It keeps moving. The dollar's gone now. You have to move. The money in your 401k, while it seems fine, 500k, seems like, well, because you think inflation's prices, and it isn't. It's the money. And that's where the confusion comes in. Well, I got 500 can. Even if milk goes to $20 a thing, I'll be fine. Well, it won't. It'll go to zero because the dollar will go out. So what's going to happen? Let's take the Roman Empire, which we all know and love. They took the gold and silver out of their coins. How do you pay your military? With gold and silver. Well, wait a minute. We took all the gold and silver out of the coins. How do we pay them? Oh, they're not going to fight if they're not getting paid. Bye bye, Roman Empire, because you inflated the money. It's worthless, and you took all the gold and silver out. Gold and silver are the money. So you fast forward to today, they're printing the money to zero. Well, the Romans did that. They took the gold and silver out, printed it to zero. It was worthless. They had massive inflation. Bye bye, Roman Empire. Bye bye, Germans in 1920s. Bye bye, Britain. Bye bye, France in the 1790s. Bye bye, Spain. Bye bye, Portugal. They all printed the money and it became worthless. So don't tell me it can't be worthless. I just gave you 10 examples where it went to zero, and I'm talking the Roman fucking Empire. So inflation is the idiot people in charge of the government, and there's always idiot people in charge of the government who don't understand that they can't keep printing, and therefore they want to be liked in their government. And so they sit there and they keep printing, and then they get trapped, like Trump said, he's trapped. You got a $36 trillion debt. You're not getting out of it. The only out is for you to go on the gold standard and turn gold into 50,000 an ounce. Take all the gold that you don't have and buy gold, and then make it go 50,000 an ounce. And the debt is owed to mostly other countries, and then some of the banks here have bonds. So it's really, when you buy a bond, it's they owe you the face value in so many years. They give you so much percentage. So if you buy a bond for $1,000, let's say, they're going to give you the 1,000. They'll give you 1,000 back in let's say 5 years, and you get interest of 2, 3, 4%. So you bought it as an investment to get your 2, 3, 4%. And then the $1,000 you get back at the end of the bond. So all these countries that have bought 36 trillion T-bills want to get paid back, and you owe them $36 trillion. And they're not going to just say, oh, yeah, well, we can't pay you. Yeah, that's probably not going to work with the Russians and the Chinese and the Japanese and the Germans and the Swiss and everybody else who has your bonds. You've got to pay it back. You can't just default on them. So you're fucked. So what people need to understand is, what do I do? Things have changed. So you first have to realize things have changed. Okay, it was good to have a 401k. I made money on my money, right? I made 60,000. That was my paycheck. And I've got to I want to invest it and make money on it. This way I can make more money, right? Oh, I can make 10 grand on my 60,000. Oh, that's pretty smart. But you can't do it. Now things have changed. You can't do it in the stock market. Can't do it in the bank. Anything to do with paper, holding this, it's all losing value because this is losing value, right? So if this is worthless, if this is worthless, so's your stock, so's your money in the bank, shows anything priced in dollars. Now you're okay with your Van Gogh and your Picassos and your Rolexes and your metal cards because they will get revalued in gold. Right? Gold didn't go anywhere. They just said we don't want gold because we want to keep printing dollars. We want to be able to print 1,000,000 of these and we'll put it in our pocket because we're corrupt. Because we don't give a shit about the people. We just care about ourselves. And so they printed and printed and printed. And that he got millions of dollars, these phony politicians. Look at this US aid or whatever it is. They get all this money but they don't, but it's not worth anything. So they miss the other side of the equation, right? It's like going for fourth down. Well, I went in my own 20-yard line. Yeah, but if you miss it, you lose the game. Do you still want to take that risk? Oh, yeah, fine. But if you gain, you don't gain anything. Now you got the ball at your 21. What's their gain? It's the stupidest play in the world. So any coach that goes on fourth down, unless it's the last 2 minutes of the game and you need it, are idiots. There's no advantage, and there's a far greater disadvantage to go on fourth down. And when the announcers are saying, good move, he's being aggressive, that shows you how stupid they are. So you immediately stop listening to the announcers because no coach who's a good coach, Lombardi, Bill Walsh, you think Bill Parcells would go 4th and 1? Unless it's the last minute of the Super Bowl or a championship game, he ain't going for it. He kicked the field goal against the Niners in 1990, didn't he? So he had fourth down. He could have went for it, but he kicked the field goal to win the game, right? So, again, that's the point. So you've got to understand what inflation is, money printing, not prices. You then understand, well, if I hold dollars, I'm losing value. So my 100 grand in the bank, let's say you have the 500 in a 401k in a bank account instead of a 401k. Well, the money's losing value in the bank. It's now worth 400,000 in the bank. Yeah, but it says 500,000. Yeah, but it's not, it can't buy you. They'll keep calling it purchasing power. I just say the value of the dollar. So if you go to the store, 500, let's say $500 doesn't buy you what it used to. I was watching this thing on the 1970s and, they were showing like a grocery store, Piggly Wiggly or something in the 1970s. The lady's got, 2 full carts of groceries, probably cost her $50. That's the difference. It doesn't. Now you buy 5 things, it's $50. But I went yesterday, I got a steak. I think I got some bagels. I got a couple other things, some avocados, I think. And it was like $25 for nothing. I got nothing. I got 5 items. It was $25. It's like, fuck. So keep that in mind that you have to understand the game you're playing. If the game's poker, if the game's betting on football or sports, if the game's playing stocks, you must understand the rules. And there's really you cannot rely, you've got to find somebody like me who can explain the rules to you, right? An Austrian economist can explain the rules if he's really an Austrian economist. Any Austrian economist will be big on gold and want to do that. So that's what you have is so to test an Austrian economist, you should be on Adam Smith, the gold standard. Understand that inflation is printing the money and not prices. So those are your few questions to ask them, and if you can't answer them, you walk away going, "You're not an Austrian economist." So that's what you need somebody to explain the rules to you, and that's what I do here is I explain the rules. No, there's no skin in the game. I'm giving you the knowledge. The only thing I ask for is if you want to bet football, then I do charge a little bit to get my picks. That's it. But otherwise, anything else, we talk in economics or poker, it's just enjoy the class. And that's what's happening. So you're buying the gold and silver because it can't be printed. So therefore, it can't be inflated. And that's how everything loses their value is the inflation. Right now, it's the money, and everything in money loses its value because they're printing it. So you got to understand the reason that it's losing money. It's printing. And the reason gold and silver is the way is the spot to be in because they can't print it. They can't print the gold and silvers. They can't inflate it. You got to find it in the mine, dig it out, and turn it into coins or bars. And but you can't have any more. And then you add to that, once people realize they're all getting made off by the dollar, by the governments who are doing with the central banks, which are totally illegal. And once the central banks start printing the money, makes it all worthless. The whole world is worthless. And guess who comes up with it? Russia and China say, hey, we're going to buy all the gold up. And then we create BRICS and we can trade with these countries because we don't have anything. And you're supposed to have free trade because you don't have everything in your country. You need to trade. Like China's got spices. Well, I want spices, so I'm going to trade with China for it. What do I have? Something that China needs. Or Russia's got oil. Oh, they got diamonds. Oh, okay. Well, I want that. I'll trade that. So all the countries have different things. So that's what you trade for. The um, the American Revolutionary War, 1776, was about, or no, it was we wanted England wanted cotton, and or maybe that's the Civil War. No, the Revolutionary War is they wanted to tax us, and we didn't want it. Why are we paying London uh, taxes when you're in London? You do your thing, we'll do here. But the Civil War was about the South wanting to sell cotton to England so they could make clothes out of it, and the North didn't want it. So again, you have a war over stuff like that. But there's always, and you've had inflation since Rome. So you just got to understand what's happening. But they're misdirecting you. Inflation is prices. It's not prices. It's inflating the dollar. That's why it's called inflation. You're inflating the money supply. And I hate when these guys, supposedly these experts, don't even understand that and call it debasement. You're not debasing the currency. You debase the currency when you take the gold out of the coins. Does this look like a fucking coin? Does this look like a coin? You inflate this to zero. You don't debase it because it's not gold is not in it. Anyway, this is where you don't trust these guys doing it because they don't even understand debasement, which is taking the gold out of the coins and the silver. Anyway, so once you understand what's going on, then you can, if inflation happens, I buy gold and silver. Inflation happens when the dollar's not backed by gold. So going back to 71, if you were buying gold at $35 an ounce, you'd be a pretty rich man. Silver, I think, was $1.25. You'd be not too bad with that. The price fixing silver, so you got to understand that and knowing it won't stay price fixed for too long. Eventually, the market wins. So you know what? I should buy it and just I should buy it and then just wait till the price goes up. And you're going to make a lot of money with silver if you have a lot of ounces. 1,000 ounces, it goes up $100. You made $100,000. Now we know the dollar is going down, but still, you're keeping up with all the inflation. So that's your other investment is gold and silver because of the dollar. If everything's running smoothly, then you could be in stocks or real estate trust or putting your money in the bank, getting 3%, or insurance. What are they? Annuities where you get 6-7% in insurance. So there's different ways to make your money, but the biggest thing is you got to realize, is the money losing value? And it is. It's been losing value since 1971. It's got no value left. So now you're in a different situation where you got to get out of the money because it's losing value and you get into something that's going up. Now you can buy a Montana rookie card or a Mantle card. They are going up as Rolexes would. But they're not money, but they are smart investments. So you want to get into real assets, real investments. So it could be those cards, it could be the Rolex, or obviously gold and silver. I'm got some cards, and then be careful when you do get the cards. Get something that everybody wants. A Montana. Do not get like I have this one here, which I just pulled out of a box, a Chris Carter. Now it's a rookie card, and as you can see, there's only 138 of them. But how many people like Chris Carter versus Mahomes? So you want a card that there's demand for. That's why I say Brady or Mantle or Willie Mays or Pete Rose or Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson. Those guys, you know there's demand for. Everybody knows who Mantle is and wants the Mantle card. So you can differentiate that way, but you want to get out of the paper. You don't want to stay in, okay, you got your 401k. So this is the biggest thing I hear. I got 500 grand in my 401k. If I sell it, I got to pay tax on it and penalty. It's going to cost me. If you don't sell it, so let's break it down. If I sell it, let's say it's, depending on what you're making, so 500 grand, let's just say you pay $50,000 in taxes and the penalty. Leaves you 450,000. Okay. Now you take the 450 and you can buy mostly gold and silver and a Mantle card or a Rolex, and there's your 450. Now what you've just done is you're going to watch the gold and silver go up, and you're going to watch your 401k and your money go down. How many people understand that? Not too many. They're scared of the tax and the penalty they pay. That's what they're scared of. So you've got to realize there's that. You then got to realize gold and silver. You've got to see gold went from 1,800 or 17 or 1,600 to 2,860. You have to see that. That's a no-brainer. Just look. Now silver, yes, it hasn't gone up, but it's price fixed and it's going up because the same reason gold's going up, silver will go up. They're just Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan are idiots, and they shorted silver at $24-25 an ounce, and they want the price to go down so they can get out of their shorts. And everybody, there's too much demand for it, and it's going to blow up, and they're both going to lose trillions of dollars because they're playing with the wrong side of derivatives. Why would you short gold and silver when everybody in the world wants it? You're shorting it. Whoever's that fucking idiot should be fired and never hired, and let him go work at a grocery store. No offense, but I did work at a grocery store. That's the problem. So it's just bricks is here. Bricks will make it go up, and that's what you got. So there's many ways to invest your money. Most importantly is to initially work and get a skill that demands money. So you could work at a grocery store with no skill, or you can get a degree and be a finance or an attorney or companies that pay. Now there's AI, computers are new. So there's all this. You got to be careful though. My dad was a TV repairman when he was alive. And in the 60s, he was great. And in the 70s, but then as the TV started to go down, you then, I'll just buy a new one for $200. They're so cheap, you don't get them repaired anymore. So that dissolved his business of fixing TVs, which is mostly just finding the tube that was not good and taking the tube out. I mean, very simple. So that's what you have is that's what you have. So you got to find a skill. So like Bobby was a baseball player, and there's big demand for sports. That's why the kids play so much sports in high school and college, because it's a hard skill, but they get paid a lot of money to do it. So you do it for 5-6 years, and that's your career, and you make $5-6 million, which would take the guy working at the grocery store 100 years to do. So that's your first thing is what is demanded? What is the market? And you got to find the market that pays you. So now it's turning to AI. So it went from computers to programmers to now AI, finance. I got my master's in finance and economics. There's always been a demand for a financial analyst. Analyze my data. Do my budget? I've got to run a company. I need a budget. I need to know, am I making money? I need to know what my problems are and what are my good products, what are my bad products. So you would look at all that. The problem with cars is they're on their way out because nobody can afford them, the high interest rates. The parts are expensive, so they don't really have a market. What's a market? Good question. A market is what somebody will buy. Will they buy from you? Is there a market for Mahomes? Can I sell this card? If I can sell the card, there's a market for it. If I can't, there's no market for it. So before you do anything, what is the market? I can get a degree in finance and be a financial analyst. There's a market for it. Okay, yeah, I can graduate and get a job. So can I get a job means, is there a market? Now it's getting a little bit difficult. And then if they keep doing this AI bullshit, they won't need to hire people. They'll just hire a bunch of AI robots and take your job out. And the problem is it'll ruin the whole economy because these robots aren't going to spend. See, if I go to work and I make so much money, I go to the stores and I buy things, and that creates it. What's the AI going to do? He's not going to buy anything. You're destroying the market if you lay the people off and replace them with robots and AI, you've destroyed your market. You don't have a market to sell to. Nobody will buy your product because there's nobody to buy your product. So here you have Tesla trying to sell a car, and then they go AI. Well, they don't have any workers. They just have robots. Who's going to buy the Tesla? If everybody has AI, nobody is going to buy your car. So you're shooting your own foot because you need people to work, to have money, to spend it. And once you take that out of the economy, how are you going to, sell anything? Robots don't buy things. Let's put it that way. So what if there's no market is my question. And can you create a market? No, there's got to be a market where we demand what we want. I want to go get chips and dips for the Super Bowl. So I go to the store that sells it and I buy it. And you can't program that. So there's a market for that. But what if you're trying to sell, I don't know, some other stuff and there's no market for it? You can't sell it. There's nobody. That's why I say if the ribs are $45 a slab, you can't sell it because there's no market for it. So I warned the guy, the market for the ribs is going to be, don't go much over 30 because nobody, the money's losing value as it is. You're fucked. If you go to 45, you're fucked. So be careful there. So again, if you're trying to get a job, you got to know what the market is. What should I get paid? So when they ask me what salary am I looking for, I go market rates. Pay me market rates. And that's what you're at. I saw what my boss made. My boss made $220,000. I nearly fell off my chair. I go, this guy's not worth 220 grand. Are you kidding me? The guy doesn't even know what he's doing, and he can't even speak English. And you're paying him 220, and then you're letting me go because the job's eliminated. I thought that was hysterical. 220 grand for this guy, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He can't explain. He can't manage. What are you paying him all this money for? So this is the point. This is the problem. You've got people. You've got to understand what the market is. Is there a market? And then what is the price of the market? So if it's looking for a job, if it's going to school, what is the price? At what point do you not go to school because there's no market for you, or you can do other things and make just as much money, or there's no jobs anyway, so there's no market, so I go to school. So you got to be careful with all that. But if there's no market, you don't go into that business. And with the car companies, it's dying pretty quickly because people can't afford them and the interest rates are too high because of the inflation. So can I even apply at Ford and GM? Not really, because there's nobody buying the cars. You're not gonna they're not gonna have employees. I mean, that's the problem. And then if they go AI, there's no jobs for you anyway. So you got to be very careful with what's going on. Now my suggestion is just do what I do, and that's buy gold and silver. We'll make a lot of money in gold and silver with no risk. Your money, if I had a 401k, so I did have a 401k about 5 years ago, and I dumped it. I sold it all and started buying gold and silver because I already knew the Titanic was sinking. And then you can see it. Like when Biden started spending, I go, well, that's it. The dollar's gone. Maybe I should buy euros. And I realized I can't buy euros. I can't buy Swiss francs because they're also being inflated to nothing and printed, which left the whole world in no sound money, which means you got to buy gold and silver because it's the only money that will not only last, but go up in value. So that's what was the point of being in the 401k. There's no market for it when I got into the market for gold and silver, and that's where the market's at. But the pension guys and uh, the financial planners and stockbrokers don't see it, and they don't get rewarded for putting you into gold and silver. So you cannot even go ask them. There's no point in it. You're going to lose if you ask them. This is the big problem. So, as you can see, some people play poker, some people bet sports. Very hard to do both professionally because it's just, you've got to have a mind like mine that can think in contingencies and ask questions. You got to have the personality when you lose a bet to understand why you lost it. And then what would you do to win it? Why didn't I win it? I miscalculated this, or I misplayed that. I didn't think the team was very good, or I didn't think they had this kind of offense or defense. So today I'm looking at everything going, yep, high scoring, take the dog. If it loses, it's the only way I can lose is if they don't score, which would surprise me with Mahomes. And if KC blows them out, which would surprise me, kind of, but not too much. KC doesn't blow you out too often. They play a lot of close games that Mahomes wins because he's controlling the tempo and he's controlling the game. That's why he always wins, or most of the time. So that's what we're looking at. So that's how I came up with 30-27. It'll be right 90% of the time. You just hope this isn't one of the times it's a low scoring game. But that's what you're looking at. So you're looking at that for everything. As the money isn't backed by anything, you automatically know there'll be inflation because you know every government is corrupt. If you watch on Netflix, the Roman Empire, it starts with Marcus Aurelius and Caligula, and then it goes to Julius Caesar, and then it goes to whatchamacallit, or it goes to Caligula. So it's Marcus Aurelius and the other guy, the guy from the Gladiator movie. Can't think of his name. And then it goes to Caesar, and then it goes to Caligula. And basically, everybody wants power. Everybody's corrupt. Everybody dies. I mean, it's just insanity. Like, why would you want to be in charge? You're going to get killed. Well, once in a while, Augustus Caesar didn't die. Julius Caesar got killed by his own guys, and then they got killed because it was a bad move to kill Caesar because he was very popular. Marcus Aurelius dies, even though he was stoic. So again, the government running you is very corrupt. They're very much into power, and they're very much into stealing, corrupting. We'll do this and we'll do that, and I'll get money out of it. That's what you did with Biden. Trump has money, so he's probably a good candidate because he's not going to be as corrupt as Biden, where Biden just wanted money. And then this whole family, he had to pardon his family because they're all a bunch of crooks. I love it. But Trump, who you think has money isn't going to be in it to get more money. He should be in it to save the money and buy gold because he's got to get his whole money's worthless also, which he doesn't understand. So that's the thing. So you're doing things. You're trying to establish markets. Is there a market and what's the price? I'm going to the gym shortly to swim. Is there, there's a market for people wanting to work out. People want to be healthy. Okay, yeah. So there's proper foods and gyms that people go to. So there is a market for people to go to the gym. You pay a price, and then you can go in the pool, go on the bike, go in the hot tub. So you have all this. And that's really what you do is you just look at the markets. You get the government out of the way and let people, I want this. Okay, I'll make you donuts or I'll make you pop or I'll make you chip dip or whatever. And people, there's all these different products because there's all these different demands. Then it gets really tricky here because all these different cultures come in and they want the Russians, the Chinese, the Islamics, the what do you call them? The Egyptians or Iranians, the Chaldeans. They got their own taste. So you need stores for them to shop so they can eat because they bring their own markets in. So you've got to be adaptable to create markets, and you got to be smart enough to see when your market ends. Sorry, like now, nobody should be owning stocks, and yet they all flock to stocks. Part of the people are kind of understand inflation, and they kind of said, I got to get my money out of the bank. I'll put it in stocks. So I'll be in Amazon instead of in Chase Manhattan. And you're like, no, you still don't get it. You're still in the Ponzi scheme. You're not out of the dollar. You're still in the dollar in the stock. The only out is gold and silver, but yet people don't. They see, well, silver's $30 an ounce. It doesn't move. Why would I invest in that? Because one, you won't lose, and two, it's going to go up to $1,000 because it's price fixed. It's manipulated, and that's about to blow up because of what BRICS is doing. So if you know that's what's going to happen, you want to get in at $30 a share, an ounce, and let it run because that's going to be your only out. Stocks aren't going to be your out because as the market collapses, how much is Tesla going to be worth if nobody wants electric cars? Nobody can afford them. The stock will be zero. He's building SpaceX. What is that? He's got Twitter. That's losing money. Elon Musk does not know how to run a company. The fact that he's trying to do electric cars shows you he doesn't understand the market because there's no market for it. Yeah, there's a few people who want an electric car. I don't know. There's always been a few strange people who want strange things, but there's no improvement. In other words, are you making the car better for us? No, you're not. You're changing the car, but you're not making it better. You're not, as we say, adding value. So adding value might be a nicer glove that heats or a hat that keeps you warm. Those are adding value, right? Or avocado, or just pop that doesn't have caffeine or sugar or anything. That's adding value to it. But this doesn't add value. The electric car adds no value. Well, I'm going to drive it. It's going to catch on fire. I know the battery won't last. I know I need to charge the battery. Where am I going to charge it at? I can't pull it in my driveway here or in my living room, so I can't charge it. And then soon, like I charge my phone and computer every day, I'm going to have to start charging that every day. So I'm going to be spending time charging. How does that add value? Now I just go to a gas station, fill it up. Takes 2 minutes. There's plenty of gas stations, so there's plenty of open pumps. It's not too expensive. I charge it. I'm good for a week or two. That's it. That's the point of it, not this other bullshit. So that's really what you have, and that's what you want to do. So those are your investments. An investment is to make money. They say gold and silver aren't investments. They're out of their fucking mind because if you're making money on them, which by definition, as the dollar loses value, you're clearly making money on gold and silver because if you held the dollar, it loses money. So gold and silver has to make money if the dollar's losing value. Just by definition, the gold, even if it doesn't go up, if it just stayed at $2,000, you're making money because the dollar's going out, and therefore, even still at 2,000, if you have $2,000 in and 2,000 in gold, let's call this gold. If I have 2,000 in each, this is gone to zero. This is still worth 2,000. So even if you didn't, theoretically, you might not, it's still worth the same. You've made money because this is zero. This has to go up if this is going to zero. So I don't really get when people don't call it an investment. They don't know what an investment is. I'm making money on it. Now it has gone up. It's almost 2,900. So that's part. I'm going to make money on silver. So that's what you're looking at. So I don't know why you'd be not interested in gold and silver as an investment, or call it it's not an investment, but it clearly is. But what are you going to get into? You get into stocks, the value is dropping because it's in dollars. The Bitcoin is not even an investment. God knows what that is. And then, yeah, and people get mad at me about Bitcoin because they don't want to admit they're in a Ponzi scheme. And it would be the same thing with Madoff. If you were in Madoff, I did the same thing. As I told you, my brother-in-law was in Madoff. He tells me, oh, I get 10, 12, 15% on my investment. I go, no, I just finished my master's. I go, no, the interest rates are 3 or 4%. Maybe you get 5 in a real estate trust. That's it. How in the world do you think, are you going to bet 15%? Oh, I don't know, but I will. It must be in strip malls. And I didn't get in it. Now, I didn't make fun of him, but I said, I'm not getting in that. That's impossible. Did he listen to me? I don't know, but he got stuck in the Madoff thing too, because he makes a market that says, hey, I can pay you 15%. That's the Ponzi. But there's no such thing. I'll invest. You never invested. So that's what Bitcoin is. It's not anything. How is it worth more? Because Michael Saylor's putting his money in it. He's the biggest scammer of all of them. He should be in jail. Or Larry Fink, the other criminal, is putting ETFs in it. Either way, you don't even know what it is. You don't even know if it's real. It's just a Ponzi scheme. And so, you want to get mad at me because I'm telling you the truth, then get mad at me. But I'm telling you to buy gold and silver because it's real. And you can go to the store and you buy it, put it in your hand, put it in your safe. It's real. Just like the Caesar's chip. It's real. I've got it. It's real. I know it's real. Bitcoin, I can't hold it. There's just that gold Bitcoin, but that's not Bitcoin. That's just selling gold. I love how they try to make Bitcoin like gold. Oh yeah, Bitcoin's gold. All right, it's not, but whatever. So anyway, when you look at your options, the money in the bank, you're not going to be able to get it out. The stocks, yes, I know you got a lot of money in 401ks. I understand that. And I know if you take it out, but if you just leave it in and watch the dollar drop to zero, would you feel better that you don't have to pay taxes and a penalty? But by the way, it's not worth anything. So I don't get it. Just pay your penalty and taxes, take it out, and then you can buy gold and silver and watch the gold and silver go up more than the tax and the interest and penalty you're going to pay on your 401k. Or don't sell it all. You got 500,000, sell 200,000, pay your penalty and tax, and then you got 150, 160,000 to buy gold and silver with. You're protected. It's not that hard. Why do you have life insurance? You're going to die. You know that. Why do you have car insurance? Well, car insurance is different. You might not get into an accident, and yet you're paying for it. But like life insurance, you're going to die, so you're insured for it. Well, that is going to happen. But a lot of things, you just, we know the dollar's going out, so you buy gold and silver because of that. It's a very simple thing. So that's where I'll leave you at. So there's different investments you can make, and that's the whole point of it. So you're smart to try to make money with your money, right? And you just want to know there's a market. You want to know what's going on. Like the dollar, you want to know what inflation really is, and are they inflating it? And they are. So you really want to know what's going on with the money. Now, the people in charge should not be inflating the money. That's not their job. Their job is not to inflate. Their job is to keep the money secure, keep it limited, not print the fuck out of it. You have to have scarce money, and it's clearly not scarce. So you couldn't have a $36 trillion debt, right? So right off the bat, you're fucked. So, and there's nothing the central banks, which shouldn't even be there. They're not in the rule book, and paper dollar is not in the rule book. So how did we get off the rule book? If the rule book is gold and silver and no central bank, why do we have it? I thought everybody comes in saying, I swear I'll go and follow the Constitution. Yet apparently no, and apparently there's no defense if you don't follow the Constitution. You're not being penalized, which you should be. So I think it was Woodrow Wilson in 1913 who put in the central bank and got us off of gold. Should have went to the electric chair, and you swore you would follow the Constitution. You didn't do it. Or FDR, guy should have, well, he was terrible. Anyway, you're trusting the government, but the government's not trusting. They're not trustworthy people. They're just people with a lot of money who get elected by lobbyists. You don't even know who you're voting for. You're really voting for IBM. So when the guy asked about Donald Trump or the next guy who runs for president, you're not really voting for him. You're voting for the lobbyist. So you should ask, well, what lobbyist am I voting for? Because you're not voting for the person, because he's going to do what the lobbyist says. And this is the problem. It's all corrupt. The system needs to be blown up. You need to go back to the Roman Republic, where you had a Senate who was, hopefully, they were rich. And the reason they were rich is they wouldn't take the bribes and be corrupted. That was the whole point. And then you had a consul who was the president, and you had two consuls, one each month, to keep the balance. And this is how it worked. Again, it's really, the key is the money, free trade, low taxes. If you have to have all that, or you're basically fucked, and then you get communism and all that shit. So be careful on your investments. Be smart, understand what you're doing. So when you play poker, understanding, you bet football, you better understand it. When you go to the casino, you need to understand it, and you need to win. You are going and doing these things to win, which means if you get up, you quit. You can still have fun, and you get up 500, put 200 in your pocket. Okay, the worst I do is win 200, but I still have 300 to play with. But there's better things to have a good time with than gambling when you could lose a lot of money. And you just got to be careful with it. So there's many things to invest in. The best right now is gold and silver, based on they're fucking the money up. So you got to understand that they are inflating, not debasing the money. And that's basically, inflation is printing a lot, losing its value, and it's worthless. So why would you want to hold something worthless when you can hold something with value, which is gold and silver? All right, I'm off to the pool. Game's at 6:30. Again, let's take one more look at the line. I got KC -1 and a FanDuel -1.5, and I got 48.5. I got 148 and then 348.5. So Philly and 7.5 and over. Why is it over? Because with Barkley, they're going to score, and Mahomes is going to. You can't stop them. The rules are too much for the offense. You're not going to get a 13-10 game. This isn't the Steelers and Vikings, where you couldn't even get a first down on the Steelers, right? And they were going to run. Are they going to run a lot? Are these teams going to make it an Army-Navy game, a lot of running? No, Mahomes is going to throw. Hurts will throw, but Barkley will run, and he can throw, I guess. So you will have some throwing, and Barkley should break some runs, and Mahomes is going to throw some long passes, which is going to make Philadelphia throw some passes. So This is not Army Navy 1980 where it's going to be 10-7, and each team gets one drive in the quarter. So that's not going to happen. They don't go on long drives. Casey will at the end of the game, but hopefully by then, again, all we need is 24-20, and I can't imagine we can't get that with these two offenses. As good as the defenses are, they can't really shut you out. You didn't see them shut out Washington or shut out the Rams. Philadelphia and Kansas City didn't shut out Buffalo. They didn't shut out Houston. Even Houston got it was 23-14. It was a 37, but even Houston they got 12. They got the safety at the end. All right, so that's it. Running by your gold and silver. Gold, it's $3,000 an ounce now, and it's only going up. By the end of March, it'll probably be 3,500. Silver, we should see it starting to move soon. They can only hold it down because the more derivatives they do on silver to keep the price down, the more they got to cover because the price keeps jumping up. There's too much demand for it. And again, COMEX is not a warehouse of gold and silver. It is just a pricing mechanism. And it's all fucked. It's all derivatives. So everybody here could go buy 100 tons of silver and the price wouldn't move because it doesn't get priced by the market. It gets priced by the derivatives. So as soon as we break that, and we will break it soon, that's why you want to own a lot of silver. And at $32, $33 an ounce, I mean, you can buy 10 ounces for $3.30. And if you don't have $3.30, you're in bigger trouble than you could ever imagine because the money you have is worthless. So anyway, so good luck today. Enjoy the game. KC 30, Philadelphia 27 is the professor's score. Let's see how close we don't expect to hit it. It's just the concept of we think it'll be close. We think it'll be fairly high scoring, and we'll see. All right, everybody, enjoy your day. You can get my email if you want on www.teaserking.com. All right, take care, everybody. Enjoy your day.